Welcome to Hardly Initiated. It is your host, Tyshawn Jackson, here with another episode of my co-host, Ryan Ketchens.
I can tell you warmed up already, man.
Oh, man.
You ready for this one?
I'm warmed up, guys, because this is not just the first episode, but the second episode we have shot today. We have something so special coming up for you guys next Friday. So we are excited to announce that. Just stay tuned. Just stay tuned. Maybe we'll tell you at the end. Maybe. But it's not about that right now. It's about the two beautiful ladies we have here on the platform today, because we got some Atlanta royalty on the platform here today. It is amazing to have two amazing Black, beautiful women doctors on the platform here today. Excited to introduce them. And let's start here to my left. We are in here with Dr. Aisha Barron. Welcome to Hardly Initiated.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yes. And we're going to go into some of the credentials a little bit later. So guys, just stay patient. You're going to get to know these wonderful ladies a little bit more in depth soon. But we also have right here by her side, about to educate us and give us some good game here today, Dr. Jada Ruffin. Welcome to Hardly Initiated.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Good.
Absolutely.
We're excited for y'all too, because health is very important. Because we talk a lot about relationships, we talk a lot about marriage, but there's so much that goes into it. And health is a big part of that, mental health, physical health, everything in between. So we wanted to bring some professionals, some experts to drop some game for us today.
Man, and let me tell you, I had a conversation yesterday with both of these doctors before the show, and I know it's going to be absolutely incredible. So we're about to bring you guys something that is going to be relevant and probably life-changing here to a lot of the people that are watching this show. So y'all better stay tuned. In fact, I'm going to let Ryan tell the people we got coming next so we can get into it.
Yeah, so guys, remember, we are off for a little bit, just to enjoy the family for the holidays. So no episode this Sunday, Christmas Eve, no episode on Christmas the following Monday, and no episode on New Year's Eve. So we're going to be spending some real quality time with our families. We encourage you to spend time with your families, and we're going to drop something very special, because you might need something special before you get into that dinner table, because we know there'll be some drama sometimes.
Maybe, y'all families, y'all.
So next Friday at 12 p.m., we are dropping a very special episode, highly anticipated. Hopefully, Tyshawn lets me tell you guys exactly who it is, because we did it today. So
as a matter of fact, you're right. How about this? At the very end, we will tell you guys who we did an episode with and the day that it is going to be released. So stay tuned, because again, this is literally the number one most requested brother on the Hardly Initiated platform we shot with today. So stay tuned. But let's tap in here today. Before we get into the conversation, let's just give obviously I said your doctors, but that was just so generalized, right? Because nothing general about what y'all do at all. So let's go into some of the details. Dr. Aisha Barron, can you please give me some details about just your practice in particular and what exactly it is that you do in your field?
I am a board certified.
Yeah.
Very important. Plastic and reconstructive surgeon. I own my own practice here in the Metro Atlanta area. It's called Breast Body Beauty Plastic and Reconstructive Surgery. And I provide cosmetic and reconstructive services to the community and abroad. Specialized in everything from mommy makeovers, breast cancer reconstruction, all the general kind of cosmetic things that are trending right now, Brazilian butt lifts, mommy makeovers, breast lifts, breast augmentations, tummy tucks, Botox fillers. We have another physician in my practice, Dr. Famalusi, and she is a specialist in facial rejuvenation. So we cover all bases when it comes to just beautifying yourself, improving your self-esteem, getting yourself back to wherever you want to be, or getting you to a new level or new point, or even restoring what, something like terrible like cancer has taken away. So I love the services that we provide to our patients, and it's just really life-changing.
Thank you so much. First of all, all of those services sound life-changing. I love how they name it too, right? Like you got the mommy makeover, the facial rejuvenation. Like it really do sound like you about to walk out a whole different person.
You need that.
Well, not just a whole different person, just a better version of yourself.
Yeah. No, I get it. So look, Dr. Ruffin, talk to us real quick. Tell us about what you do.
So I have my own practice as well on the north side of Atlanta. I do see people in multiple states virtually. I'm licensed in multiple states. So I like to say I'm based in Atlanta, but I serve nationwide. I help high achieving and results driven women to not only weigh less, but to further their personal success, whether it's through my medical practice, through my coaching programs, my online content, my best-selling book, so that they not only look great but feel better and live at their best. A lot of what we do as a board certified, double board certified medical specialist in the area of non-surgical weight loss, I help people to achieve a level of health and well-being that is directly correlated to weight. Now, that could be, again, physical. A lot of people that I see have reasons why they now have to really think more seriously about losing weight. And some of it is emotional, psychological, may even be relational. So I cover the gamut, and I do it in a very holistic and comprehensive way so that the whole person is acknowledged and addressed throughout the process.
Man,
That just sounds so good.
it does.
Yeah.
It does.
Ladies, y'all need to share this right now, ladies and my fellas, because health is very important.
It is.
And you cover two different aspects of it, but I feel like it's something that is always on the tip of our minds, whether it's weight or things that I could do potentially to improve myself with some surgery.
And I had, let me tell you again, such a great conversation with both of you. I know when I talked to you, Dr. Ruffin, I was just, when our conversation just had me thinking about just so many people in my life in particular that not only are affected by, you know, the same issues that you're discussing, but also have potentially even lost their lives, you know, by not even dealing with some of the issues that you help people with on a consistent basis. And let's start there.
Okay.
Because you were talking to me about some of the women in particular that end up in your office. Okay. And describe this woman to me so we can get an understanding of who she is and what she's dealing with a bit.
Absolutely. That's wonderful. And I think we probably attract people similar to who you're seeing here. I'm typically seeing a probably middle-aged woman somewhere between 35 and 55, 60, if y'all give me that's middle age, who is pretty much a professional woman. She's high achieving, she's busy, she's, juggling a lot of plates. She's got family life. She's got work life. She's running a side business. She's caregiving to someone else. She's the head of some other outside organization. I typically will describe the women that I see who are overworked, overweight, overwhelmed, and over it.
Wow.
That's a hell of a combination.
Wow.
Right.
That sounds like a lot of women.
It's a lot of women that I see.
And so let me ask you this in particular, because obviously we have our audience is mostly not even just women, but Black women.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a consistency? Are you seeing women across all demographics, or mostly are you working alongside Black women with these issues?
I will say that my core patient base is definitely African-American women of color. I do see all people. I don't turn anybody away. If you align and I can help you and you want to be helped, I definitely don't turn anyone away. But my core is going to be African-American women. And so I see that concentrated effect. But what I see in my office probably reflects what the statistics that we know of nationwide are saying. If we look at African-American women in some communities, that could be 80% of women who are overweight and or obese. So if we add those other components of the work component and the overwhelm with all of the pieces, yeah, I would say this is who I serve. This is who I'm next to very often. This is who I run into in the store. So this is a thing.
Wow.
It's a thing.
And when the women come to you, what is the issue that they're trying to solve? Is it like, is there a deeper root issue that they're actually trying to solve, and the weight is just a symptom of that?
That's a great question. I don't know that the women that come to me know that there's a deeper issue, but I have a saying in my practices: it's never just about the physical weight. It's never just about weight. And in my book, I address that as well. This is not a book just about weight loss the way that we traditionally see it. There are so many layers of why people begin to eventually show a physical expression of excess weight, baggage. And it really is multifactorial. So whether they acknowledge it, a lot of the people that I see are I've tried everything people. They've cut out this. They don't eat carbs. They exercise regularly. They're still not getting results, and not really aware of emotional eating, undiagnosed eating disorders. I think we were talking that a lot of times in health class. Well, I dated myself. Maybe y'all didn't have VCRs, but anyway.
I had a VCR.
No, we ain't that young now. We used the VCR.
No, it was right before we was flooding the mall to get the new DVD.
Right.
That's right. That we thought that eating disorders only came in restrictive eating disorders. In other words, anorexia and bulimia. So that was on the test. But for African American women, what I see often are consumptive eating disorders. In other words, eating more, eating excessively, binge eating, night eating syndromes, and several other pathological or dysfunctional eating patterns that have not even been looked at or assessed or diagnosed, and let alone treated.
Let's talk about some of those. First of all, I think I got that night eating syndrome myself. I ain't gonna lie.
I never heard of some of those too.
Right.
I'm very curious. Yeah.
So so I think night eating syndrome just simply you somebody that when nighttime comes every single night, you've created a habit that you need to pretty much make you something to eat before you go to sleep.
Well, yeah, and some of it is habitual. Definitely behavior is a good bit of everything that we're talking about. Some of it is biochemical. Some of it is when certain hormones or neurotransmitters begin to activate more, or that it's quiet enough for you to be able to access these things that you've been kind of thinking about. It's a lot of things that lead to that. But typically with night eating syndrome, you're right, most calories are consumed after dark. And that pattern goes on into the evening. And some people actually get up out of their sleep to eat.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. They get up to eat, and maybe go back to bed, and maybe stay up and eat a little while longer.
They got to have that full stomach.
They do. Well, and it may not necessarily even be out of hunger per se. So it may be that they go beyond a full stomach. That's kind of going into another very common disorder that I see. So it may be about satisfying hunger, but it may actually be about satisfying a feeling that is associated with hunger.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what type of effects would these patterns, habits, and actions have on someone's life?
Oh, well, this can run the gamut. If we're talking, a lot of times people think when we have these conversations about weight that this is a target or a conversation about how someone looks. And then there's this culture of judgment and shaming that comes into play. And that's not really the angle that I come from. That's not the angle that I think most serious clinicians are coming from. It really is a conversation about what's going to help you live your best, highest quality, and longest life. And so health issues are very, very common. Some of the ones that are common that I think people are kind of poo-pooing, so it's worth talking about, are diagnoses of pre-hypertension or pre-diabetes. In other words, there are certain lab tests that we order, and in certain ranges, that test may be fully diagnostically consistent with that disease, i.e. diabetes, or it may be on the way to that. So we call it we used to call it borderline diabetes. And so we have now called it pre-diabetes because pre is preceding what's coming next.
Right.
And so I see a lot of women, and here's another thing about that is we used to see these problems later in life. So the 5th, 6th, 7th decade of life. I got people with prediabetes in their 20s, teens, 30s. So if we talk about diagnostically, I just did a video, I don't know if it's released yet, about an article that shows that people who are diagnosed with diabetes in their 30s, in their 3rd decade, are set up and are at risk to reduce their lifespan by as much as 15 years.
Wow.
That's crazy.
And those that are diagnosed in their 50s by 6 years. So if you think about, that's a lot of life lost for something that is modifiable, is treatable, and in many cases, the people that I work with, it can be put into remission. So I think we have to have a little bit more serious understanding of prediabetes and prehypertension. We're seeing younger and younger age groups that are going on dialysis. Some of my nephrology friends, they're putting people in their 30s on dialysis. I actually have a very close friend, she may be watching tonight, whose brother passed away in his 40s from renal failure. Like, this is stuff that this is not an older person's issue.
Yeah.
And very, very often it is directly correlating with weight, which is how I got into this.
Do you see the men typically having the same issue, or is this more predominantly an issue in our ladies?
Women definitely, men are pulling up the ranks. And the thing that's interesting about men is that, especially we're coming out of this baggy clothes culture, and now we kind of got skinny clothes again.
Right.
I think I'm secretly happy about that, is that men can just get away with it, I think, a little bit more, both health-wise, because we know women are more likely to go to a medical professional than men. So by the time men go, they're sick, or they have some symptom that has brought them there. So women, we're used to going to the doctor, whether it's, for pregnancies, taking your kids to the doctor, all of those things. So men will typically kind of opt out of those situations. But I am seeing it with men. And by the time I'm seeing men that are ready to address it, it's either affected their sex life or their relationship or their health to the extent that it's about to affect their sex life. So it's almost kind of like a cycle.
So when the little man stops working, that's when they show up at the doctor's office.
Because we had, and that happens, man. We had Kendall Ficklin come up here, and he was very open and honest with us. And he was like, "Yo, listen, because he said I'm feeling good now, I'm having sex now, but because of how I was living, how I was eating, and the type of shape I wasn't in, I was not getting erections." And he's a middle-aged brother, as well. And also a businessman that probably was, what's them O's? Overwhelmed, overworked,
right. Over it.
And he was over it. Finally got him a trainer. And he said, that now, he's able to more naturally operate as he was prior. So, it's very interesting to hear the issues. And when you talk about the intimacy life with men, that's interesting because we're so motivated by that. So I can see how if it's about to mess with our sex or our money, that'll be enough to get us there. But women, I don't know, like, does that affect women's intimate lives? Their weight affect their intimate lives as well?
Absolutely. I see it all the time. It affects it and the whole gamut from single women who are reluctant to date, who are posting neck up photos.
Wow.
I do see a lot of that.
Yeah,
Wow.
neck up with the angles. And thinking about, well, at some point, if I have to meet this person in person, and this is how I have shown up until this point, what's at risk? What's at stake? Am I going to be showing up and disappointed? Will I disappoint them? So we can go from single all the way to those who are married. That I've had clients who have not been undressed completely, in other words, naked, with the light on, in front of their spouse for 10 years because they are not happy with the way that their body looks. So we know that women, intimacy starts well before you get to the bedroom. Well before.
Wow.
And having a self-image that is positive and a self-esteem that is robust and a self-worth that is, in the zillions, having that is really important for showing up in a very positive and comfortable and giving way intimately. So I see the whole thing.
I can imagine how tormenting that is. I remember when I was a little kid, I was fat for a little bit.
Me too.
And I just remember never wanting to take my shirt off and to jump in the pool,
Yes.
But the crazy thing is, once I got a little older, I was still overweight. But then I just stopped. I don't know. Then I just kind of stopped caring. I'm like, it's a lot of people fat, But I know that doesn't happen to women, because it's men that I know that they're confident, shirt off, they could be fat as is all get out, but it doesn't impact. I don't think that impacts men's and women's self-esteem the same. So do you see that? Do you see that when men are overweight and they come to you, is it a big deal, or is it just like, I'm just really sick and I just need to get healthy? Or is it the weight is impacting their self-esteem and their levels of confidence the same that it might impact a woman?
What I love about the work that I do, and when men come to me, I believe that I foster an environment that allows them to be vulnerable and to be open. And I encourage that because I can help you if I understand where you are. And very often there are things that they are experiencing. There are challenges, even at work. You talk about men and money, like professionally, people are often held back or not at their best or optimally functioning and getting into the bag because of their weight. So in cases like, I have one guy that told me he had been working on a job for about 3 years, and he came to me, started losing weight, started feeling good, looking good. And he said, Dr. Jada, people are speaking to me in the break room. This was pre-COVID. People are speaking to me. And I'm like, I've been seeing these people for a couple of years now. And the only thing that's different is my weight.
Insane.
It's the only thing that's different. And so even when you think about promotion, and we could spend a half a day talking about weight bias and weight stigma and the impact on financially for people who live with excess weight, it's significant, and it does include the men. So whether it's financial, physical, again, we're going to say not feeling. And what I found too with men is that men want to look good too. They may not necessarily kicking in the door saying, I want to look like him. They may not have their inspo on their phone ready, like probably your people do.
Some do.
Yeah. But they do. They want to look good. They want to feel attractive. They want to feel like they can step to someone confidently. So the people that I see, the men, they're ready, whether it's their health is challenging or they just need to step it up emotionally.
So guys, just know to come, we are going to have an initiation hotline. So we're going to allow you to ask some questions for the doctors here today. If you want to stay anonymous, you can. We'll let you you can go ahead, no mic, no camera, ask your questions anonymously, or come up and just ask questions face to face. However, but I need y'all to go ahead and hit that like button so we can continue to spread this message to our other initiates and to other people that need to hear this message and being here. So please hit that great thumbs up. Hit that thumbs up right up under the video so we can continue to spread this message. And I actually want to tag Dr. Barron in here because, obviously, confidence is a big thing. We all want to feel confident. We all want to like the way we look. And, we all want to, look in the mirror and just be happy at what we see. And, I want to ask though, because I think it could be some controversy on some of the ethics around plastic surgery in general. Do you think, is it right for someone to want to feel confident and use plastic surgery as the avenue to go about gaining that confidence?
I think it really depends on what the exact motivations of that are, what those motivations are going to be in that realm. I think, of course, I think it's right, to a certain degree, but there's people who come in my office, their expectations aren't reasonable. Plastic surgery is not going to land you a job. Like, it's not going to guarantee you that. It's not going to guarantee that you'll be married in a year or so, or that, you'll get a boyfriend or get the person whose eye you've been, trying to attract. It's not going to, it's just not going to do certain things just because you get plastic surgery. I think, people always have a baseline level of confidence that they're kind of dealing with. And so the majority of patients that I see, they're confident to a certain degree. They just want that additional boost. And it's not just about confident, because they may be confident in their workplace. They may be confident at home. But when they get out the shower and they're naked and standing in front of the mirror, do they like what they see? Is it, a remnant of what was, or is it completely different? And so I like to think of it more so as, really just what your body image is and how you view yourself, because there's plenty of people who, don't want to look like a Kardashian, like they don't want to look like an Instagram model. They just want to look like how maybe they looked before kids, or just an improved version of that. So I think I deal, or I like to refer to it more so as, improving your body image, as opposed to, okay, yeah, now you're lacking confidence, I'm going to give you confidence. I don't like that, because I don't really feel like that's the case of most of the patients that, and I can't give you anything besides, what I can do with my hands. I can't change what's on the inside. I can maybe give you a little bit of boost by, doing a little nip tuck here, sucking something out, putting something in, to kind of help with that overall image. But overall, confidence comes from within, regardless of what's on the outside.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Have you had, and that's interesting though, because I can imagine, I'm just curious to know, because you mentioned that you do have some people that might come in with some just unreasonable ideas on what they want to have or the outcomes to be from plastic surgery. So is that like something that really happens? Like somebody might come in and say, yo, I want plastic surgery because I'm trying to, literally get this man, or I'm trying to get married, so I want plastic surgery?
Well, they won't say it exactly like that. So, a lot of being the physician is, there's different specialties, but, each field, you kind of have to have a little bit of a psychological aspect and being able to pick up on certain cues by what someone may say, and sometimes patients, they've never talked to a psychologist or psychiatrist or really anybody about how they feel on the inside, about what they look like, or what their image of themselves are. And so, they get on the couch with me and they're saying, oh, well, yeah, I want to have a breast lift and maybe some liposuction, and I'm like, okay, well, why now? Well, I either just got divorced, or, like things are on the rocks, or, I've never been married, and they might go into these, things, or, they might have just gotten out of a relationship or just had kids and they're dealing with postpartum depression, things like that. And so I have to really kind of listen and kind of sift through the cracks to kind of figure out, okay, what's the overall issue here? And will surgery help or hinder your overall process or progress? So lots of people come in my office and they don't get what they want as far as, okay, I want this, and this. Okay, maybe we can do this and this, but this is not, reasonable at this point. Or you're not at a healthy BMI, like you're, significantly overweight. Plastic surgery is not weight loss surgery. So I need to send you to Dr. Ruffin, to kind of get your weight under control, so that we can be doing this safely. Because, safety is the overall, overarching theme when it comes to what I do. Yes, I make people, look good, feel good, that type of thing. But I mean, when it comes to being safe, like I have to be able to put my head down on the pillow at night and be satisfied with what I did that day. And the majority of patients that see me, I see a lot of, mommy makeover patients. They have kids. I have kids, so I want my patients to be able to go home to their kids, and their families. And so I'm always going to do things with the highest standards when it comes to like ethics and morals, within my field. So I think patients appreciate that, they know that I'm going to really give it to them straight. I'm not going to sugarcoat things when it comes to, just, okay, you want this? Yeah, write a check and I'll do it. That's not how it goes in my practice.
Is there any psychological reason that you might deny somebody from servicing them?
Good question. Absolutely. Body dysmorphic disorder,
Okay.
So body dysmorphia is a condition in which a patient may be overly obsessed with a certain body part, and really no amount of surgery that you'll do to that body part will make them happy, so you could see a problem with it, do the surgery, and then they still complain and they say, no, you have to fix this, you have to do that. Or they'll go to another doctor and say that doctor botched me and, did whatever, the classic kind of example is, people refer to as Michael Jackson and his nose and that whole type of thing.
Oh, okay.
Allegedly.
Got you. But he wanted to keep going back and fix it and fix it and fix it.
Exactly. And so you do see it a lot in rhinoplasty patients, people who get nose jobs, but you see it other areas, there's people who, have come in my office and they've had, 5 different surgeries by 5 different plastic surgeons. That's a big red flag, because once I touch you, it's a tag, I'm it type situation, to where the last person who's done surgery, like, you own that patient,
Wow.
So I just never want to put myself in the position where I'm going to just have just a significant amount of issues in dealing with something that I actually didn't cause, so patients who are just career patients. They're never happy with what has happened. That's where within the consultation, you just have to, really read between the lines and pick up on a lot of social cues. I feel like as physicians, we're just very observant, at baseline. Those skills are heightened when you're hearing to people talk about their lives and how they feel and their bodies and everything. And so you really have to piece the story together and figure out, like, can I really help this person? And that's a big part of the training that they don't teach you in residency. It's a lot of on the job training when it comes down to it. So it's really just listening to people.
Oh no, go ahead.
Well, because I'm thinking about the type of people that might come to you. Would you say there's an ideal patient?
An ideal patient is someone who has done some research.
Okay.
And has attempted to educate themselves. Generally, like, you don't have to get a medical degree, prior to coming to me, but has at least looked into what they're about to get into.
Gotcha.
It's always good to have someone who's going to ask me questions back, like just as much as the patient's interviewing me to be their physician or surgeon. I'm kind of interviewing the patient to make sure, okay, do I want to take you on as a patient? And so I love it when patients are advocates for themselves, when they're asking, the right questions. Okay, what's the recovery like? Can I work out? How much time do I need to get off work? Most of the time I cover all that in my consultation anyway. But it's good when people come in with their little questions and they're like, okay, I've been doing some research, hopefully it's, they don't delve too deep, because, then they can, kind of go off the ledge and down the rabbit hole with things. But someone who's informed, and they bring somebody along with them during the consultation, and that's helpful, because, 2 heads are better than one when it comes to remembering stuff, but we give them all the information via email and, that whole type of thing. So people who are informed and really just want to be active in the process.
Now, speaking, not to cut you off, but I'm curious about that, because you say somebody bringing somebody else with them. Is it possible, or have you saw that there might be a spouse, and particularly a husband, that might be the person pushing, a woman to get surgery? Is that something that you might have saw or see commonly?
I have seen it. I don't see it commonly.
Okay.
At least in my practice. I have seen it a couple times, and I've actually put those people at times out of the room and have then talked to the patient themselves. It doesn't happen frequently, but to where I feel, but you also sometimes have to be respectful of other cultures, in which, a lot of times even, and I feel there's some, cultural sensitivities that you have to have in play to where the husband or the man in a woman's life might be speaking up for her. And that's just the way they do things, so I'm respectful of that to a certain degree, but then I always still will address the patient and make sure that, we're getting that verification from her or him or whoever, to make sure that that's something that they are actually wanting to do.
That's interesting, because I can imagine, that's just the space of beauty. I can imagine you see a lot, and what is it? Maybe is it 80 to 90% of your patients are actual women?
Yeah, probably about 90%.
What are guys coming in there for?
Guys come in for all sorts of stuff. I saw a pre-op today. He wants to get some lipo, get his chest liposuctioned.
Wow.
I see young men who don't want to take off their shirts at the pool, but they have something called gynecomastia, which is basically man boobs.
We had somebody call in with that, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right about that. You're right about that.
But sometimes that can be hormonally influenced. But then also, when puberty hits, the hormones are all out of whack. They can have increased breast growth of their breast tissue. But then also, like, there's some, medications and drugs that can cause it. Smoking too much, weed can do it.
Can do what? Wait, what? Hold on now.
You gotta flush the stash. Right.
Yeah, like excessive marijuana use can cause gynecomastia in some patients.
Wow.
And that's one of the differentials that you have to rule out when a patient comes out for that. So
it's important when they ask you, like, do you smoke?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
And so we got the cigarette smoke question, and then we got the other smokes question.
Wow.
So I'm appreciative that most of my patients are very candid with me and very honest. And I appreciate that. But yeah, men come, a lot of my male patients will come for liposuction. I see some for, still Botox fillers, things like that on the face. But the majority liposuction or weight loss surgery. So not weight loss surgery, but skin reduction surgery after massive weight loss. So if they've gone to, someone like Dr. Ruffin, or if they've had bariatric surgery, like a gastric bypass or sleeve or something like that, or if they've been on some of these medical drugs for weight loss, like Ozempic and things like that, then they'll have excess skin that they want removed. Because that's almost a little worse than, not being able to take off your shirt at the gym,
right?
Or at the pool or wherever, is that, they're down to this healthy weight, but they still feel that
insecure.
They still feel insecure because there's extra skin. And it, I've had some patients, it's so extreme that, they come in and they're like, okay, I have to do something about it. So extreme that they're getting rashes from the skin rubbing together, things like that. So
is it still very taboo? Like, do the men come and they got, a oversized coat on with like a ski mask on,
No, I think, social media in general, TV, reality TV has, really kind of pulled the cloak off of plastic surgery, in which it's much more acceptable. Really it became more acceptable in mainstream populations or communities, but then within the African American community, it's become more popular just because I think people have, celebrities, reality stars, things like that, have they've been more open to share their stories, and so I think once people start, saying like, oh, okay, I got this done, it's like, oh, I was thinking about that. Okay, who's your doctor? Okay, here you go. So I think it really just the widespread education exposure has made it so that, most people, they come in the office and it's not a thing. They'll let their friends know that they're coming. But I still have a subset of people who are like, nobody knows I'm having this surgery. And I'm like, you got to tell one person. You have to have an emergency contact, because I'm calling that person after you awaken from surgery. So yeah, some people like to keep it under the hush, but Others are just out there with it.
So guys, you guys can,
too.
That's good. And keep in mind, you guys can absolutely, let me
Oh,
pull this a
sorry,
little
I'm
back for you,
getting-
just
oh,
so
my
you
bad.
don't go over the mic, but you guys can absolutely send any super chats. We're going to read them in. We got guys, do you not see the caliber of doctors that we have on here tonight? Whoever super chat you guys bring on here, I'm gonna let you guys answer it. And we got the initiation hotline coming up very shortly. Yeah. You can come up anonymously, or you can come face to face. It's coming up in just a few here.
Take
and
that
Ryan
super
is
chat.
putting a poll. I'm gonna drop a
poll. I'm gonna drop a poll. Have you ever seriously considered reconstructive surgery? It's both for men and women.
Wait, because that's a difference in plastic. Wait.
Okay.
Let's talk about that, because there's a difference in plastic surgery and reconstructive surgery. So could you break that down for us?
So really within the whole realm, it's a plastic surgery is a catch-all term, but yes, there are different aspects. There's cosmetic and then reconstructive. Cosmetic is, you're going in for elective surgery that is not medically necessary.
Got it.
In order to improve a potential, body part that you dislike, or,
So BBL is cosmetic.
Cosmetic.
Got it.
Yes,
okay.
Insurance will never pay for that.
And and reconstructive surgery is something caused by an illness.
Potentially an illness, an ailment, or the result of that. So breast cancer. I do breast cancer reconstruction for a lot of women who've had lumpectomies or mastectomies after breast cancer. So that's reconstructive. That's mandated, if you have insurance, that your insurance company has to cover reconstruction. If breast reductions sometimes.
Okay, I was thinking about that, because that's an ailment.
Yeah,
right.
Because if patient has very large breasts, that's causing them back pain, shoulder pain, things like that, then if they are willing to go reduce to at least a size range that's suitable per the insurance, then they may or may not cover it. All insurance companies don't cover breast reductions. Some do. But you have to meet all the criteria. So, people have to jump through those hoops.
So I think the word you're looking for is cosmetic surgery. Is the word you're looking for, cosmetic. Yes. So I'm going to take this poll in while Ryan's going to, I'm going to take actually this super chat while Ryan's reading that poll, because we have a super chat from Sunny. Sunny says, Dr. Jada, please speak to BMI. Is it an accurate way to assess the health of a person's body or the health of different body types? I've heard conflicting opinions on the matter, and I'm curious about your perspective. Thank you.
Thank you for that question. That is a very good question, and I am going to share my opinion, my view. So BMI, body mass index, is a tool, a calculative tool that we use as medical professionals to assess and categorize a person's weight based on a height to weight measurement. There are different categories between normal weight, overweight, obese, and then there are categories to obesity, class 1, 2, and 3. So I believe that it is a fair tool to use for this reason, for any culture, ethnicity, for this reason. One is that it is non-invasive. 2 is that it is cheap, easy to do. And 3, that no matter what the ethnicity, body mass index gives us an idea around really specifically one thing, and that's body fat. So no matter what race one could be or ethnicity, body fat is the kind of the catch-all problem that we see. Now, there are some people that can have a higher BMI who have a lower body fat. Those people pretty much are easily identifiable. They have a higher level of muscle or higher amount proportionally of muscle than fat. The people who are the opposite of that, who have more fat than muscle, categorically by using this number, can also pretty much guess who that person may be. So using BMI as a screening tool for me is fair. It is very similar to using blood pressure levels as fair. There are numbers that we have for normotensive, hypertensive, and the word for low blood pressure. So we can use that reasonably. There are other things that we use, for example, waist circumference. So how wide is the waist? And actually, if we pair the BMI with waist circumference, that gives us an even better, free, non-invasive, and easy to do tool to give us an idea of what that person's fat to muscle to weight to height ratio may be.
And is this, and just to confirm, is this typically an issue? Because I think I've heard this conversation once or twice. You know, a lot of like, for example, Black women, because their bodies are just usually more full, they may feel like it's a disadvantage for them because they may typically be more on the overweight end of the spectrum when they look at the BMI, the body mass index. Is that why it's usually an issue?
I think it could be a number of things. One is there are some theories and some schools of thought that go back to who was the BMI originally used to be created in general. Like, whose BMI were y'all taking to decide that this is a okay BMI?
This is overweight.
Right. So who are you to say that? Who were the people? Who were the test subjects?
How thick were they?
How thick were they? Because y'all picked the people that weren't. So, and that's fair enough. I don't see anything wrong with that argument. There are some that say that it is a tool that can be associated even with financial gain, with other behind the scenes things that come along with categorizing people. So there are some fair arguments out there against it. When it comes to the different body types, if we think over time, if we look over time at body types, which I've done, body size, maybe not necessarily shape, but body size has changed over time. We can actually pair that change, i.e. larger body sizes. We can pair that with certain points in history, with the invent or the takeoff of packaged food.
Popeyes. Fast food.
You said it. I'm keeping it clean.
No. We really need to keep it real.
Food.
I got you.
If we look at studies to see what the U.S. consumption of salt and sugar, meat and dairy are compared to the 1940s and 50s, then we can see direct correlation with size. And there's a guy out there that does some really good research around looking at size over different races over a period of time. And so what we see, the answer is yes. African American women are tending to be at this point larger size. And I don't use the word fat unless I'm referring to physiologic component of the body. So I don't usually refer to a person as fat. I'm referring to fat as a physiologic component. So, but we are seeing that we're in the thick culture. So we have to take that into account when people sociologically think about fat and body types. And so where I will interject is I won't argue a lot about BMI, the way that it rubs someone personally. Where I like to keep the clear correlation is that BMI helps us to determine risk factors. And risk factors, and there's no mistaking this. Comparatively speaking, any culture or ethnicity, higher weight is associated with more likely to have diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, more likely to have issues with asthma, issues with gastric reflux. So there are a lot of things that are directly correlated with having a higher weight. And that's where I like to keep the discussion.
Yeah. In my realm, patients, I kind of have a BMI cutoff to where a patient is a good candidate for surgery. And so if you're above that cutoff, I'll ask the patient to lose additional weight before embarking on surgery, because at a higher BMI, you're more prone to blood clots, to wound infections, respiratory issues, cardiac issues, a spontaneous cardiac or respiratory event in surgery that's not even related to the actual surgery, but as a result of the anesthesia. So these are things I tell patients when they come in. If they're asking, well, why do I have to lose weight prior to surgery? Well, that's why, because I want you to wake up after surgery. You want to be here to enjoy your results, so a lot of these things go hand in hand. I use some of those same markers. The insurance companies, when it comes to like a breast reduction, there's a table that they use, and they actually use body surface area. But depending on the patient, if they're taller or shorter or whatever, then, that may not be wholly accurate. I look at the entire patient as well, though. Some patients might be, a little bit of a higher BMI, still within my range, but they're carrying all their weight, down in their thighs, but they want a breast lift or a breast reduction, and so looking at the entire patient and seeing how their body composition is something that you just have to do as a physician to kind of pinpoint, okay, can this person get a surgery, or are they good for whatever program, in order to get to their weight goals.
And what I want to do is I want to actually get prepped up and ready for the initiation hotline. So if we can, we'll get the links ready. So guys, y'all can come in. Again, you can come in anonymously. Just put anonymous as your name. You don't have to put your cameras on. You could just bring your mic up and we can have a conversation. You're going to be able to ask the doctors questions, or you can come face to face and ask. So we'll drop the link so y'all can come in and get ready. But I want to ask these questions until we go ahead and get that going. We'll let you know when it gets dropped. Actually, it's dropped right now. But let's talk about this because, and excuse me for my ignorance, but I know I'm seeing, BBL has obviously, the BBLs have gained massive popularity over the last, has it been like 5-10 years?
5-10 years, definitely.
So 5-10 years, massive popularity. And I think before I started hearing the word BBLs, I was hearing like the ghetto version of the term I was hearing is called ass shots. Oh, yeah. Now what is that actually supposed to be called? So I don't speak incorrectly.
So I mean, it is what it is.
That is what it's called?
What
do y'all call it?
No, we don't call that in the office.
But no, those were really
we actually
shots,
say
right?
black markets buttock injections.
So those are illegal.
Oh, okay.
I mean, are the police going to come and arrest you? Probably not. But I mean, whoever's doing it. But they're off market. Like, so a lot of people, a lot of celebrities were getting hydrogel buttock injections, in which it's a filler that's that was approved overseas for injection into the face in very small quantities. But someone decided, okay, we're going to try to just put this in people's buttocks, in order to improve their shape or, their physique or contour. And they're doing it in massive quantities in which it's not indicated. So you ended up people with, these ridiculous infections, skin necrosis, basically skin death, fat death within the area. And so you have young girls like completely disfigured from complications, because no reputable surgeon is going to do that, and so they're going into hair salons, strip malls, back alley offices, people's apartment complexes. The most I guess kind of egregious one is it was someone in Florida was doing it and putting Fix-A-Flat in people.
No.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
that was a big deal.
Yeah. And I've seen patients. So back in the day, though, they were actually putting free silicone, not just in the buttocks, but into people's breasts, which is clearly not indicated. I've seen women who have rock hard breasts, rock hard buttocks, because they, went to some clinic and had free silicone being injected, just all dispersed within their breast tissue. Can't get mammograms, like the tissue is just utterly destroyed. So that's where I go back to my favorite patient is someone who is educated or has done some research. A lot of individuals who have gone about this route, unfortunately, are just trusting of whoever it is that says what they're doing is what they're doing. They don't know what they're injecting, and that person really has no moral compass to really say like, oh, okay, no, I can't do this, or this isn't right. So it's people are trusting of people who claim to be medical professionals. But you have to do your research. You have to, know that, you have to ask what it is. What is this that you're really putting in my body?
Wow. So
So there's those illegal buttock injections, and then the BBL or Brazilian butt lift, same thing as a fat transfer or gluteal fat transfer, is taking fat from somewhere else on the body by liposuction, and then just draining some of that fluid off of that fat or processing it, and then re-injecting that fat into your buttocks. But now, where our societies have said that, we're only supposed to inject fat within the subcutaneous or the fatty layer of the buttocks. Before, we were able to inject in the muscle, but you had a lot of unapproved, or non-plastic surgeons. So still doctors, still medical doctors or surgeons, but non-plastic surgeons who hadn't been adequately trained on technique, just injecting fat kind of everywhere with reckless abandon, all in the muscle, damaging veins, and that fat gets sucked up into the veins and causes a fat embolus. And the patient can die. It could be fatal. You've heard of issues where the patient either dies that way, or they could be severely disfigured. They can be paralyzed. They could, have, it can get into the bloodstream, cause, blood issues in their lower extremities. I've heard of people having to have their legs amputated, things like that, so it was the wild west when it came to fat injections at one point. The societies have cracked down, and so I'm glad for that, but it's important that people go to a reputable plastic surgeon, a board certified plastic surgeon, because if we don't practice safely, then our board certification gets taken away.
Do they need to be in the U.S.? Because I know a lot of ladies are going to, out the country to really get the whole,
making that discount,
getting the whole package.
No, there are some great plastic surgeons. The Brazilian butt lift was popularized where? Brazil.
Okay.
There's some great, people who speak at all of our society meetings, from different countries and subsets. You just have to go to the right person, yes, some people, they're not going to be the ones in Brazil or Colombia or wherever that have the bargain basement pricing,
Got you.
So it's just all about knowing what it is, you have people who still go to certain countries, Dominican Republic, wherever the doctor has a rap sheet of multiple deaths and all these complications. They're still going to these same doctors.
Incredible. And that's like public information that they can find, and they'll still go,
because they're all in these chat groups. They're in Facebook groups. They got they got all these Facebook groups and everything like that. They'll share stories, which doctor you going to or whatever, that whole type of thing. And so I say that to say, every physician or surgeon or whatever can have complications. Okay. Just because you're a board certified plastic surgeon does not, absolve you from having potential complications. It's being able to do something about that complication when it comes to fixing it. And so that's what's important about having a plastic and reconstructive background. There's nothing that that could potentially happen to any of one of my patients or even walk through my door that I should not be able to fix. So I've had extensive training. I trained at Baylor College of Medicine, the Texas Medical Center, which is the largest medical center in the world. And I saw everything,
Wow.
So there's nothing that's walked through my doors that I haven't been able to deal with. So that's the reconstructive aspect is the cornerstone. It's the foundation of plastic surgery, so that's why it's just so important to go to a surgeon who's been trained in that way.
No, that makes it. Let me tell you, that's an incredible game. I actually got a lot more questions on that, but what I want to do,
too.
Because it's time to get to this initiation hotline.
You got some people that's ready?
We got somebody in here, but I want to let y'all know. I want y'all to come inside here. That link has been dropped. Let's drop the link again for everybody.
I'm gonna keep dropping the link.
I want y'all to come in here and talk to. We got some. Look, we brought some doctors here for the family, man. Come in here. Y'all probably ain't. You ain't even got to have insurance for this. It's free questions.
Right. Don't be scared either.
Y'all ain't got to be scared to come in.
We know y'all want some BBL.
Before we start, I want to go ahead and actually close that poll out, Ron, before we pop off with that one. So can we close the poll out that you had dropped?
Yeah, so I'm gonna close the poll out. We got over 200 votes on this thing. Have you ever seriously considered cosmetic surgery? And I put 4 options on here. Okay, 4 options. I got yes, and I move forward. That was 12%. Okay, so people moving forward. Yes, but I'm apprehensive. That's actually the highest group at 35%. No, I don't think it's natural at 26%. And no, I just never thought about it. So it looks like people really between the yes, I'm apprehensive, or no, I don't think it's natural. Because I'd imagine y'all get people like that that's like, they probably really want it, but they like, I don't think it's natural.
Well, I mean, is getting your lashes done natural?
Interesting analogy.
Is pressing
on that
your
one.
hair natural, or getting a relaxer, or getting your nails done natural? No, but these are enhancements that people find value, like in which it makes them feel good about themselves. They'll go every 2 weeks to get a full set, or whether it's lashes, nails, hair, whatever, so no, it's not of course it's not inherently natural, but one of my taglines is that I like to produce natural but noticeable results, so I don't like the excessive, exaggerated aesthetic when it comes to plastic surgery. People come in, if someone comes in, they want a gluteal fat transfer, Brazilian butt lift, you are not going to look like some of these celebrities. I'm not going to name drop, but you're just not going to look like that coming out of my office. And if you want that aesthetic, that's fine. You can go to someone else for that.
No.
So I mean, even when it comes to excessively large breast implants, or something like that, like I just don't do it, because I can see the complications coming down the line. When you go big, like to a certain extent, you have to do things within reason. So
wow.
And let me tell you, first of all, we're gonna come back to that, but I got somebody here. I don't know if they want to be anonymous, but the camera's not on.
No, so please turn your camera on. I'm
gonna go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead. And I'll keep it anonymous if the camera's not on, but I'm bringing you to the stage here. What's up? We got V here. V, what's up with you, V?
What's up? What's up?
Oh, so V, you sound far. Right, Lionel, we got the mic up on that one. Let's go. V, can
turn the volume up a little bit, V?
Wait. Can y'all hear me?
No, you are good, V. How are? Wait, you keeping your camera off for us today?
I just came out of the gym. I look too crazy.
Oh my goodness!
No, we want to see that workout outfit.
Yeah, listen. See that? This is what we look. This is what we dealing with here now. But V, go ahead, give us your location as well as your age, okay?
I'm from North Jersey and I'm 23.
Awesome.
Nice.
Okay, good man. Nice young initiate. As a matter of fact, V, glad to hear from you. What's your question?
So, well, I'm not interested in plastic surgery, but my friend is, and like I want to I don't know how to phrase this. Like, how does she search for the right surgeon? Because she wants to go like out of the country because it's like more affordable. But I've heard too many stories about like deaths and like just crazy stories about what can happen. Like, how can she search for the right person for her for what she wants to do?
Way to look out for the homies first off.
That's a fact.
Yes, that's a good friend. So
I told her, I was like, I'll be there to hold your hand, but I'm not doing anything.
Right. Yeah. So I appreciate your question. I think what you can start doing is, either researching plastic surgeons in her area, go on different pages as far as websites and things like that. You can go on their Instagram pages, and she should really look and see if the surgeon has the aesthetic that she wants. Like if they're creating the look that she's going for whatever body part. But what's important first is that whenever she finds that surgeon, to look at their training. It should be widespread on the website. Call and ask the office staff. And if she gets to the consultation, then what she needs to do is, ask questions, come with the questions, come informed, know what types of surgeries or what body parts she wants to enhance or reduce, and really make sure that she develops a connection with that surgeon. Because it's really important. I hear a lot of times patients will come to me, they've had surgery somewhere else, and they are, basically like, yeah, I went to that surgeon. And I'm like, okay, well, why aren't you going back? Oh, I just felt like they didn't listen to me. They didn't hear my concerns. I didn't want implants this big, and they ended up putting in these really large implants or something like that. So I think it's important that your surgeon hears your concerns, and you guys develop a plan together, as opposed to someone just saying like, oh, okay, you want a breast augmentation, you're going to get this size. So it's really about them being responsive to your concerns or your friends' concerns. So I appreciate you and commend you for, being a good bestie.
That's good feedback right there too. Making sure you're on the same page.
Absolutely. Super important. Super important.
Mess around, be walking around looking like you from the Bug's Life.
Looking like an ant.
Hey, so V, thank you so much for coming up here. Okay.
Thank you.
Shout out to you, V.
No doubt. We got a couple other people that we're gonna bring up on here.
That was a great question.
Man, see, the problem is when you let people be anonymous, not nobody want to put their camera on.
That's the thing. Yeah, come on.
Y'all got to put these cameras on, family. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna go ahead and bring us up. We got. I want to make sure I'm pronouncing this name right. We got Ranacia. Is it Ranacia?
Hi.
What's up with you?
Hey.
Am I butchering your name right now?
It's supposed to have an accent gear over the E. Can you hear me?
Oh, so you misspelled the name.
Yeah. I didn't really put the E on there correctly.
Why you got the
It's
camera?
Renacia. Turn your camera on.
Yeah.
Let us see you, Renacia.
Oh my goodness, no, I'm wet.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Wait, what? Hey, hold on.
Oh, I mean, like,
the family
clean.
Yeah, this ain't that kind of show now, girl.
No, that's not the right thing to say. Wow, this is amazing. Thank you for having me on. And wow, big shout outs to these two women. I just got onto the show, so I didn't think I was gonna get picked. But
hold on, wait, just real quick, Rana, before you get into your question, give us your age, your location, and then give us your question, okay?
Right. I am 35. I am from Houston, Texas.
Shout out to Houston.
Yeah. And you said, what was the last thing? I'm sorry.
Your question.
What's your question?
Yes. I did have a question. When women get tummy tucks, why does the tummy, like the little belly button, look so weird? And how come it can't look so natural? Or like keep a pouch, just a little pouch or something. I don't understand why.
I don't know, because most of mine
Okay.
end up looking pretty
Ooh.
natural. I mean, I spend time on the belly button. Normally that's one of the last portions of the operation. A lot of surgeons are tired by that point. But I do like to really spend a lot of time to make sure that it looks good, because that's literally a telltale sign. Like that's the scarlet letter that you have had a tummy tuck if the belly button looks off.
Wow.
And so I spend time to make sure that, it can invert some. Some people don't really. Sometimes it's about the shape in which you cut the hole that it comes back out of. Some people just cut a big old circle and, it just stays there and looks literally like a button on there. So I really do my best to make it look as natural as possible. I would say the majority of my patients have a very natural appearing umbilicus is the medical term.
God bless you.
In which they are comfortable still wearing like a bikini or showing their abdomen.
So see, you got the good doctor. But I want to ask you, because it seems so random, but what even made you ask that question? Like, have you just been looking at a lot of after results from surgeries, or is it something that you're considering? What's the situation?
Yeah, I was considering it. I am a mother of 3, and my last pregnancy, I was like really big, really, really huge. And I developed, diabetes, but it like goes away after pregnancy because I was just that big. And so I have a lot of skin. I lost a lot of weight. I'm not down to like my 150 yet. I'm like at 175. So yeah, I was thinking about it. I'm working out to get my stomach tighter, but I was like, maybe I could do a little tummy tuck, just a little. I like my pouch, but I don't like how big it is. So, but the whole belly button thing freaks me out.
That's very interesting, because a lot of people said yes, they consider it, but they were apprehensive. And it sounded like this thing, because I would imagine if you want to get a procedure, the way it looks after is important.
Oh, it's a big deal.
And something just as small, maybe I would consider it a small detail, but it's the belly button. Something like that can stop somebody from moving forward.
Well, the belly button doesn't have any function as
Right.
an adult, or once you're born, there's no function for it really. But but it's an aesthetic marker.
It is.
So plenty of women, you're not showing your abdomen because you either have excess skin, stretch marks, a lot of fullness. You invest in this tummy tuck and you can't show your abdomen, like that's a big deal. Like, so I would say, Renacia, go to different websites. I have a plethora of people in Houston who are amazing surgeons that I trained with. Or you can always come down and see me here in Atlanta. They are just look at websites, look at their Instagram pages and see, like, okay, if someone's belly button is looking, not so nice all the time, then, that's what they produce. But if someone always has a really natural appearing belly button, then that might be, a surgeon that you need to have a consultation with once you're ready.
Are you tagging people on your website that are here in Houston? Because I would like to get recommendations from you.
Go ahead and DM me.
Send her that DM.
There you go. Look,
check out the description. Her profile is in the description. You really need to come to Atlanta for real.
That's what you do, because let me tell you, this is a big surgery.
Yeah.
It's worth working with the best. And if Harley Initiated brought them on, we only bringing on the best of the best here on the show.
Yes,
so
you do.
what it is. So check it out.
Dr. Aisha do that work and send us a picture of your belly button so we can put it. Making sure you're looking good.
Thank you for coming up. Okay.
Thank you so much. God bless you all.
Yes. All right, man. That was good.
That was good. Yeah.
We're going to keep it rolling here. Shout out to somebody. We got somebody here that's bold enough to give us this camera.
Such a detail.
Welcome
on that last one.
to the stage, Mahogany. We got Mahogany here on the show. What's up, girl?
Hello. Can you hear me?
We sure can. Mahogany,
I can hear you. And I'm most glad that I can see you tonight. Way to be bold and brilliant here on the platform. Wait, you at work?
Yes, sir.
Listen, just don't lose your job and DM us. All right. But look, we glad to see you. Give me your age, your location, and your question, okay?
I'm 27. I live in South Carolina, and I just wanted to ask questions about like some of possibly effects of like a breast reduction inside of our family. Well, my mom's side of the family, we tend to have like very large breasts, and my little sister and I are both thinking about getting a reduction. But I want to know like possibly any downfalls of that, seeing how we both don't have children or anything like that yet.
So thank you for your question, Mahogany. A breast reduction, when it comes to potential risks, I think is what you're asking for. There's risks with any type of surgery, but specific to a breast reduction, sometimes patients can lose sensation or have altered sensation of the nipple areola complex after a breast reduction or any type of surgery. Well, not any type of breast surgery, not just a breast reduction. But that's a risk, but it's very small. Like normally only about maybe 5%, less than 5% of patients could have permanent numbness. I've seen and done breast reductions on patients who are as young as 14 because they have enormous breasts that are causing issues with their self-esteem, clothes. They're getting bullied at school. Or they have back pain. They can't even carry a backpack around school. So those are my younger patients, but I have even, middle-aged, young adult patients who have the same symptoms. They get shoulder groovings from their bras. They can't go into a regular store and find a bra. They have to get specialty bras made, which are really expensive. So, I see all those types of patients. If you have a breast reduction before you have had kids, about 70% of women are still able to breastfeed after a breast reduction. As far as milk quantity and things like that, we don't really have any studies as far as that goes. But, it's a very viable option. I've seen plenty of patients who have had breast reductions done in their early 20s or teens or anything like that. And then they've had children. They may come back and just need a lift. Sometimes if a patient gains a significant amount of weight after a breast reduction, then they might need to get a re-reduction much later in life. But we're talking about a pretty substantial amount of weight. Most patients, your breasts don't grow back like that, unless you've had like a pregnancy or, a significant weight gain. But the main things are, the sensation issues, people wanting to know what's going to happen with breastfeeding.
What about the cost?
Cost, if it's medically indicated, then your insurance may cover it for a breast reduction. General cost for a breast reduction, if you pay out of pocket and don't want to jump through the hoops of the insurance company, can range anywhere from about $7,000 to around $10,000. So and that's all in, with surgery center fees and things like that. So,
wow.
But it's worth it. A lot of patients, who come in, like my older patients, who are maybe like, in their 60s, 65, and they finally say, okay, I'm going to get a breast reduction. The first thing they say at that post-op visit is, I should have done this years ago.
Wow.
I can see
years
that.
ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can see that with a lot of those things. That's how I felt when I got LASIK.
Me
I was
too.
like, how are people living without this?
When Tyshawn got LASIK, he literally was like, he was shaming me for having glasses.
I was like, I just want to smack the glass off his face when I saw him. I was like,
Yeah.
I want to bully him after. I'm like, do you know what I can do?
Yeah.
I'm 20.
Don't disrespect the glasses. Don't disrespect the glasses.
It's something that's I really appreciate. Like, I don't even remember wearing glasses now. Like, it's something I'm like, wow, I should have been done. But I was so apprehensive, and I never actually investigated it. I just heard the most craziest horror stories. And when I went up there to get LASIK, I saw it was tons of people up there. The doctor did thousands upon thousands of surgeries, and it was like, wow, I should have at least, if I knew there was something I was interested in, I should at least took the time to actually do my own due diligence and investigation rather than waiting for a friend to get it and then tell me that it's okay,
That's why you gotta have good friends, man.
Yeah.
But shout out,
you gotta do your own due diligence as well.
No, and that's what Mahogany's doing. So I appreciate you calling up here and risking it all at your workplace just so you can. Okay, Mahogany.
Of course, y'all have a wonderful evening.
Hey,
Be blessed.
You too.
Man, we got one of our initiates here. Shout out to Sylvia Harsey, who's been a member here for a month. She actually says, I have implants. Skin thickness was a concern. Now that I have lost weight, now ripples even with extra weight. Now ripples even with extra firm. Can you talk about skin thickness? Because just like the belly button, the ripples matter too. Oh, thank you.
Ripples. What is?
I'm not sure. Do you know what she's talking about?
I know what she's talking about. So basically, implants is a silicone shell, and it's filled with either a silicone gel or saline, which is salt water. And so, if you think about it, if you have, a shape or device just filled with some sort of material, if it's on a hard surface, then, you're not really going to see any ripples or lumps and bumps. But if it's kind of held upright, then depending on how it's within the body, like it might have some ripples once it kind of settles. And so that's what she's referring to. If she has very thin tissue, and say the implant is above her muscle, then, it's only being covered by the breast tissue and then the skin. And so if she's lost weight, from what it sounds like, she may have lost some of that volume within the breast. And so you can see ripples a little bit easier. For a lot of reasons, we put sometimes we put the implants underneath your pectoralis muscle, and that helps to give a little bit of added layer of thickness or coverage to the implant so that you reduce the signs of rippling. So, skin thickness, it is what it is. Sometimes what we can do is with a breast augmentation or even an implant exchange, if the patient has fat elsewhere, we can take that fat, similar to what we would do for a Brazilian butt lift or something like that. But we can graft fat into the upper poles of the breast in order to help with some of that coverage. To make it look a little bit more natural.
Thank you so much for that, doctor. And we got, it looks like we got somebody else in here. I'm going to bring to the stage here.
And I'm going to do this real quick before you go ahead and bring them to the stage. I'm going to do this real quick. We got some people. I can tell they want to join the chat because they want to send over some questions for our lovely doctors. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop 5 memberships in here right now for any non-initiate. So I'm dropping 5 right now. Getting ready to add 5 more people to the chat so y'all can get involved too.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas gifts out to the family. We got the memberships popping. Y'all can get up in here and chat with us. So, Kay, welcome to Hall Initiated.
Hi, how are y'all doing?
Hey, way to put that camera on when I brought you up to the stage,
I
girl.
love
I'm happy
that.
to see you, Kay.
Hey, I figured, if that young lady can do it, so can I.
I love it.
I like that.
Look at that. We ain't here. Look, it just takes one. All right.
It does.
Shout out to you, Mahogany. It's okay. Look, give me your age, your location, and your question.
I'm 36. I live in Atlanta. And my question is, I recently had bariatric surgery, and I have had 3 children, breastfed all 3. I've had a tummy tuck, a muscle repair before, a tummy tuck muscle repair. And now that I've had this bariatric surgery, of course, I have concerns about, what loose skin is going to be like for me afterwards. I have the same, issue that Mahogany has with really large breasts, but I have the bariatric surgery because of just medical conditions and health issues in my family that kind of run in my family. I wanted to kind of be preventative and wanted to kind of mitigate those things early. And bariatric surgery seemed like the best route for me personally. I just kind of want to hear the doctor's thoughts on bariatric surgery and kind of weight loss, and then going into plastic surgery post weight loss after bariatrics.
Mm-hmm.
And what is bariatrics?
So that's weight loss surgery.
Okay,
so
gotcha.
that's like gastric bypass, gastric sleeve, lap band surgery. What type of surgery did you have?
I had gastric bypass.
Okay, so gastric bypass is one of the more aggressive. Well, I wouldn't say aggressive, but really
It's probably the
most aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to say aggressive, but
It's what it is.
Right. So, but it actually produces the best results, when it comes to weight loss. We do find that patients who have had gastric bypass surgery will drop the weight a lot quicker than potential patients who've had the lap band, or if they've had a balloon or anything like that. And so you kind of have to be ready to deal with that, depending on when you have the surgery and how quickly your body will drop the weight. And so the reason why patients will sometimes end up with, drastic excess skin is because it's very restrictive, when that surgery is performed. You're completely bypassing, certain areas of your digestive system. You might have to be on vitamin supplementation. And really, I want to bring in Dr. Ruffin. Do you have anything to add with that? Because I'm sure you see some of those patients.
Yeah, because where does that intertwine, the surgery and the weight loss?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And thank you for that question. To your point, from a medical bariatric standpoint, there's a surgical bariatric specialist and a medical bariatric specialist, and that will be the category that I fall into, non-surgical. I'm happy that you have found something that allows you to move towards your personal health and wellness goals. So congratulations for that. There are things that have to be managed and maintained post-surgery beyond the post-op period, by which you would likely still continue to see your bariatric surgeon. Dr. Aisha was starting to point to a few of those things are nutrient deficiencies that have to be maintained. Very often, we just know that because the anatomy has been changed significantly, that there are parts of that digestive tract that serve as an absorption center. Mm-hmm. And depending on how the surgery was accomplished, some of those centers may no longer be as functional. So that means supplementation is going to be necessary for a lifetime. Mm-hmm. And I think people skip over that, and they have the weight loss benefit in some cases temporarily, in some cases permanently, but their health is still not quite hitting all the markers. So make sure that you're getting good post-op care, not only 6 weeks later, not only 6 months later, but year, 3, 5, that you're continuing to do that. The other things that are important in order to maintain those amazing results is the lifestyle shift that needs to go along with that. To have rapid weight loss can affect things like, and going back to things that are missing or things to be aware of. I have people that have had hair loss significant hair loss as a result of that. People who have things like dumping syndrome. So certain foods that you used to be able to eat can't eat that way anymore. It's not just about the volume, but it's also about the mechanism of digestion that is altered. So there are a number of things, in short, that need to be managed, assessed, treated over the course of surgery for optimal and best results. So I would say get with a medical professional that you're specifically saying, how can I be at my healthiest best having had this surgery done?
Because what she's talking about is, a lot of these patients will have to be on B12, vitamin B12 supplementation, iron supplementation, because
Calcium,
there's areas,
magnesium.
like so many things, because there are specific areas in your stomach that, are like, that's just what it does. Like your stomach doesn't just like, break down the food, move it, or anything like that. There's specific areas. And so it's really important that, her bariatric surgeon has a plan set in place to guide her through that. But these are some of the reasons why a patient will rapidly lose weight and have the excess skin. And it really just depends where you lose the skin from, if that will be an issue for you. You want to make sure that you have maintained whatever weight loss, and that it's stable for at least about 6 months before you then embark on having surgery. So, that's what we want to know, is that you've been stable and that you're not still actively losing. Because what I don't want you to do is to come and, give me all your money and have surgery, but you're still losing weight. And then you come back and you still have excess skin after a surgery because you've still lost 20, 30 pounds afterwards, So I like patients to be within about 10 to 15 pounds of their goal weight prior to going into surgery. So, those are things you just want to make sure that that's stable before you take that next step. We do know that some patients who have had bariatric surgery are at a slightly increased risk for fluid collections, minor wound healing issues. But, I do additional measures to kind of decrease the risk of them having those minor complications. So if you come in and have a consultation with me, I will tell you all those things. But I appreciate your question. Did I answer it? Did we answer it?
Wait, can you say it again, Cal?
Yes, you did answer my question. Because everything you guys said was extremely true. And it is definitely a lifestyle change. And it's been, kind of like a morning of like, just, old habits and, starting new ones. But I definitely wanted to know, like, kind of what's expected as far as like, once the weight does come off, if I do have loose skin, post, losing all that weight, like what would be the best course of action to kind of like handle that if it comes to that.
Yeah. And one thing that's going to be helpful for you is if you can work out as you are, as you're kind of dropping some of that weight to build up some of your muscle mass, as long as you're supplementing the right nutrients and things like that, because you don't want all that muscle to waste away, because then that will also, cause, excess saggy skin, and, just decrease the overall appearance. So you want to have good muscle mass as well. So.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming up here and asking
that question.
Guys. Absolutely.
Thank you. So it sounds like you just can't get the surgery and it be done.
I mean, you can, but I mean, I don't
healthiest.
think that's the best way. And all these things are investments, whether or not your insurance is paying for it, you're paying for it, or, anything like that. It's still an investment. The time it takes to be educated or to recover from these things. It's an investment. It's really a turning point for most people's lives. But I've seen patients who come into my office and they have eaten through a gastric bypass.
Wow.
I'm looking at their surgical history and I'm like, wait, what did you have in 2012?
For sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I had that, but it didn't work.
Wow.
Okay.
I had a point.
Hold on,
but
wait.
It didn't work.
So they got the gastric bypass, but they still had to eat, but they never fixed the root cause of the eating issue. So, and does that shrink your stomach?
The gastric bypass actually bypasses the stomach. So there are pieces of the stomach that are rerouted to go into the small intestine, which expands differently and has less expansive potential.
Wow.
And then other types of surgeries may reduce the size of the stomach either by removing a portion or by putting a restrictive device in place that causes only a certain amount of food, beverage, nutrients to go into the stomach at a certain period of time. So those are the most common. There's also the balloon, which is a restrictive device as well that goes into the stomach. It's more of a temporary device. And nonetheless, though, to your point, and where we kind of nodded with each other, is that these are not permanent by nature of the fact that you have had a surgical procedure. And the unfortunate part in many cases, especially with the gastric bypass, is that you have significantly altered your anatomy, and that's not going back. And so to me, I will often say you kind of use, in Uno or in spades, you use your joker.
Right.
That's a good card. You can sweep it up everything.
Yes.
And you've used that card, and now you got to use a 2 of hearts, So it is really important to think about the long game. And a lot of times when I see people who have had regain, which is fairly often, if you do this, look at the studies, the attrition rate on surgical interventions can be relatively high within a 5-year time frame.
What is
So
it? So
that
how many
means-
people ends up coming back? Yeah, what's the number on that?
That number is pretty high. It could be as much as 50%.
Wow,
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So you saying they come in, they get a surgery to, be able to try to control their eating to some degree,
To lose some weight.
and it could be potentially every 2 people that comes, one gonna have to be right back in your office all over again because their habits pretty much
Have not
superseded
changed.
the actual surgery itself.
Right. What got to surgery didn't get corrected.
Well, a lot of these programs, though, they'll put you through a program, and some of them I
to
know
get you
one.
to the table.
Yeah, before you have to be in it almost like a year. Some programs.
6
6 months to a
typically
year?
6 months for
Okay.
insurance to consider
Okay.
coverage. 6 months, and now
Yeah.
we're finding that there are advancing requirements to be centers of excellence. The surgeons have to show a certain attrition rate for people that so that there's more now that's being added to it. But to that end is that the point being is that regain is possible. And we never want to say that is probable because it depends on the individual. And there's some great results and people that are really great candidates who really do absolutely well. They resolve diabetes, they get back active again, they get their lives together, reduce joint issues.
Yeah.
So much can happen from having the right surgery in the right person by the right surgeon and the right appropriate follow-up. So it is to me a package that needs to be considered. There needs to be a short game in terms of who you pick to do it and all of
Yeah.
and then a long game for changes in lifestyle that will.
And see, that really just seems like that's really the key. Like, the key really is, regardless whether you want to get surgery or not, you're gonna have to address the fact that you got to change your lifestyle. Like you can't really get by that, and you can't look at. I think it's a great option to have, to be able to, have these surgeries, especially depending on where you are in life, to be able to make a big jump, and assist you in changing that pattern. But if you have not made your mind up that you want to really change that pattern and make a lifestyle change, you are potentially just wasting your money and your time, because you're going to end up right back where you started. And is it a little bit worse or harder when you've already had this surgery and you coming back again? Is that a worse point than never having surgery in the first place?
That's a great question. And a couple of things I want to point out in what you said is that the lifestyle change is essential. Adapting new habits and releasing old ones are really necessary, because we know the definition of insanity is to do the same thing and expect a different outcome, even after having had a surgical procedure. But I want to point out that it's easier said than done. I mean, it's easy for us to shake the proverbial finger and say, well, this person needs to exercise more and eat less. And it's not always that easy. That's a lot of people are doing that or have done that, or have done versions of that for years and have still not been able to be successful for the long haul. So sometimes there are other underlying issues. And a lot of people that I work with, those issues may be hormonal. And so the surgery is a mechanical solution, but it may not necessarily be a hormonal solution. So there's so many things to that cause what I call complex obesity. And so it is really important to take that into account. And for those people out there who have been in that I've tried everything club, and surgery is a final or a last resort or a Hail Mary, just know that surgery is a tool in your toolbox to help you get closer and closer to your ultimate goal. And there are other tools that you get to add to that, and you get to pull out some of the tools that you like, and some of the tools you got to pull out that you just got to do. You may not love them, but you got to use this tool.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's getting more information around which tools to use when.
Right.
I can't go in here or go somewhere and say, well, I'm going to nail something in, and I'm using, I don't know, not a hammer. Instead, I'm using a screwdriver. It's just a different thing, a different outcome. So ensuring that you have a wide array of tools, you're very clear on how your body got to that in the beginning. I'm very big on what's the problem. Because if we know what that problem is, then we can get more clear and direct around what the solution is, or the solutions may be. So there's a lot.
No, good context.
That
listen,
makes
that's
a lot
good
of sense.
context.
I got a question because I'm not sure we got some
And
people on the hotline.
before you actually read
Okay.
that question, I want to give a big shout out to Judith here. Judith just blessed us. She said, "Hi, initiates. Just briefly stopped by wishing y'all a Merry Christmas and a blessed New Year. Enjoy. Remember, I love you. There's nothing you can do about it." Cheers. We love you too. But go
Shout
ahead,
out
Ryan.
to Judith, man. Another day one. We got to do something special for Judith and VJ and Yali and Teresa and Anna and all the people in there. Yeah, all the day ones. Jonathan, King, everybody.
Facts.
But I had a question
Hey,
for you.
you as well. Throw hey you in there.
Got to.
But go ahead.
It's because I don't want to breeze past this, because I know a lot of people say genetics impacts your weight, and I hear that. I'm just like, really? Does that really have anything to do with your weight? So you mentioned hormones. So what's the correlation between hormones and weight?
Well, that's a really good question. You put two in there, but I'm gonna go to what you asked.
So that's two different things.
Well, you pointed out the thing around genetics.
Okay.
And if I can talk on that for just a moment, very commonly, I don't know what this show was, or TV or something. I don't watch a lot of TV. It's like my mama was big, my dad was big, my grandmother, all of those.
Yeah.
And genetics do play a significant role. Especially in pediatric obesity. There could be, in other words, overweight children. There could be a genetic component that carries on throughout life. It's past genetics that's hereditary. So there are certain syndromes actually that may be underdiagnosed actually, that Prader-Willi is an example of that. So there are different genetic deficiencies that result in difficult to control obesity from a very early age, or adolescence or childhood. So those are those that's that. And then even we all have genetic programming that has a timer attached to it. And so over time, these genetic, I call them switches, can be flipped on under the right circumstances. So when we look at genetics and we look at environment, which is the catch-all for saying all the other stuff that happens, whether that's medications, the foods you eat, the neighborhoods you grow up in, the stress you grow up under. There's even studies that go into looking at what's called adverse childhood events, or an ACE study. And this is an amazing study. This study is so good. It looks at, and that study was actually done for the purpose of obesity, studying obesity, but so much came out of that work around trauma. So there's a lot of things that are not genetic. And in fact, there's more things that are non-genetic than genetic when it comes to people who have a tendency to be overweight. So you can out environment your genetic predisposition. It is absolutely possible. So it is not a given that just because your family struggles with weight or has excess weight that will happen to the individual.
Don't you think a lot of that can also be behavioral? So, aside in those environmental factors, because when they say, okay, my mom, my grandma, everybody, it's because everybody's used to eating a certain way or eating certain types of food. They give, their large portions. You have the little kids, who are getting, all
whole
this,
place.
Passing down them habits.
it's like
absolutely
Kool-Aid in the baby bottle and, and that type of thing. Like,
no,
They put Kool-Aid in the baby bottle?
Kool-Aid used to be, I'm gonna date myself again, Tang. You remember
Tang.
Tang?
Oh,
Y'all
my
better
God.
Yeah.
That
Oh, my
Capri Sun.
God.
Capri Sun.
Yeah.
Oh, I grew up on Capri Suns.
So you
Yeah.
have it to where, her, historically, like that's just it, and you use it like, okay, that's just how we eat.
Yeah.
Or whatever, so yes, those things can be broken and changed, but it has to start with someone.
Right. It definitely starts with someone. It starts with education. That's where our medical professionals come in and making sure that, and it comes with being willing to receive the information and being willing to make some little tweaks and changes. Let's admit it. People say food is good. Food is good. However, what we're seeing is that while food tastes good, food is almost, you can look at it as food is medicine or food can be poison.
Yep.
And so it's when you look at the results, if you look at the results in your life, is your food proving to be, where's the evidence? Is your food proving, and there's evidence that it is medicine for you, or do you see the evidence that it is poison? So in that though, you described environment, behavioral, sociologic, socioeconomic, education status, all of those things are factoring.
It's interesting. I don't know who it was. Maybe Socrates. Y'all help me in the chat, but somebody actually said, they quoted, you either use you said you use your food as medicine or you will eat your medicine as food. And the thing about it is because we had Dr. Tamer come on here as well. Incredible doctor. That was an incredible episode. If y'all have not seen that, we talked about intergenerational trauma. And she did talk about how food, especially in our culture, it could be used to cope with all types of issues. We use food to use, hey, look, we're not going to talk about all this shit that we're going through as a family. Let's just sit down and eat. And matter of fact, we know what you've been through. We know what you've been through, but we're going to sit here and we act like it ain't going to happen. As a matter of fact, I know you're going through a lot. You're going to get that nice piece of sweet potato pie to deal with your issues. And we can use food, like you said, as a drug and to cope, and not necessarily use it for what it really was designed to be fuel and energy for our bodies. But that it's up to us to identify what parts are toxic in our culture. And although we may love it, we have to understand what to change and modify, especially as we, create our own lifestyle and our own habits and habits for our children.
Right.
So that's really, really important for us to be able to differentiate that. And I want to actually talk about this now because why you look like that? I got excited. You saw me get excited?
I saw you get excited, but I was like, is it still the hormones? But I'm like, I'm here for it.
No. This is something different now because, the hottest topic is always when we talk dating and relationships, y'all.
Okay.
But y'all gonna learn today. Y'all eating y'all damn vegetables on this episode.
Right.
So y'all about to learn today. I hope y'all got the notepad out and taking notes, because here is where we do some real work on these kind of episodes. But I want to talk about that a little bit because, first of all, let's start here. When we talk, and I'm curious about both of you guys, do you see a consistent pattern between are most of your clients single? Are they in relationships? And of the ones that are single or in relationships, are they motivated differently to work with you guys?
I could start that one.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. I see the gamut, but what I will say that I'm seeing more and more are single, unmarried, no children, and professional nearing at or over 40 who are almost kind of like traversing lifespans by the time that they see me, by which, and I will add to that, even those that are challenged with fertility. So I'm seeing a significant number of those women who are kind of going through phases and hitting milestone times of life and kind of bypassing them. Now, I don't want to imply that every woman wants to be married or coupled or a parent or become pregnant. So I want to make sure that I put that out there.
Right.
I'm just saying that I'm seeing a number of people. I even see, a fair number of people who have not even been in a serious relationship. Some people who have not dated, and these are people that are in their 30s.
Wow.
That have not dated, that have not been chosen, if you will, by a person of in these cases the opposite sex. So
because of their confidence?
I don't know that it's all because of one reason. What is common is that they come to me for weight loss.
Got it. That makes sense. And with you, is it a similar avatar or is it completely different? Especially when considering who's, in a relationship or single?
I would say it's kind of 50-50.
Okay.
I do see a lot of married patients. A lot of my mommy makeover patients are married. But then I see, a decent amount of, divorced patients or just single, which they say, okay, well, I'm either deciding not to have children or I never wanted to have children, but I want to do this or that. Or I've had children and, I want a mommy makeover. I think it's a wide range, patients, but I would say, probably about 60% of my patients are probably married.
Wow.
And they're motivated. I mean, most of them are internally motivated to, come and seek to have some sort of change. It's not that they're being externally motivated as much.
Okay. Okay. And so, Dr. Ruffin, I want to know this too, because when it comes to addressing the issue specifically of weight, do you feel like after, especially for the clients that may have done the work and are actually seeing results and are improving in their goals, do you I don't know if you communicate with them after a follow-up, but do you find that they may have success in also achieving some of those other goals relationally that they want to achieve once they actually hit those goals?
Absolutely. And just to be clear, I think the first relationship that I see begin to shift is the relationship with themselves. And that opens up the door for more success in any outward relationship. A lot of times I'm dealing with people who have had excess weight for a very, very long time. So there have been some long-standing self-esteem issues or self-worth. People who have I ain't gonna just kind of taken anything from anybody to be with someone based on where they see themselves and their value. So I definitely will say that in the work that we do, because it's so comprehensive, we're looking at it psychologically, spiritually, emotionally, that there is a high level of self-awareness that comes with our process. And so people sometimes begin to see another version of themselves. And I won't necessarily just say it's better version, but I will certainly say a more evolved version that lends itself to more discernment and discretion in new relationships. That's including friendships. People who have just kind of had folks beside them because that's who they felt like they had or could get or could maintain. So when there's a higher level of confidence and self-value, then it's like, well, I have a little bit more choice. I can, I don't like I don't like that energy, or I no longer can get down with that program. That doesn't work for me anymore. So while there may be gaining new relationships, there's the refining and sometimes the pruning of relationships that no longer serve them.
So would you consider?
Did I answer you?
No. That was a great answer.
That was good.
That was a great answer, because the relationship with yourself is very important. And if you get disconnected with that relationship, how can you have a successful relationship with anybody else? Like sincerely,
Facts.
a real authentic, deep relationship
Facts.
with anyone else, if you don't have that with yourself.
Right.
Just overweight in general represents a bit of disconnection.
And
It's like not maintaining your vehicle.
And see, this is what I want to know, because
but can I interject?
Go ahead.
Like, I know we've been talking about a lot of overweight, everything, related to that. But there's a lot of skinny fat people walking around.
Skinny fat.
Yeah. Like
Okay.
people who are just, they don't put on weight as much. They might have a higher metabolic rate, but they're just not healthy at all. They can still deal with some of the emotional type of issues or behavioral type of issues that patients who put on weight a little bit easier deal with, and they're not healthy, they may be pre-diabetic, they might be diabetic or hypertensive or whatever, so I think when it comes to, overall, how food makes you feel, like you still have people who may not have a high BMI who are dealing with some of the, kind of emotional issues that, come from eating or, eating poorly and things like that.
Wait, so they literally might be having some of the same practices as somebody who's visibly overweight and just not gain any of the weight.
Potentially.
But on the inside, their body is experiencing something very similar.
Wow.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And see, when I think about that, because when we think about those patterns of somebody who's, potentially having eating disorders or a lot of those things that, that you were talking about they're dealing with, and even lose that connection and relationship with themselves, do you find that majority of the people that you actually serve, would you even be able to say that they're probably, clinically depressed?
There are not just that's a great question, not just who I see, but there are definitely studies that show a correlation between depression or major depressive disorder, clinical depression, and weight. And so there are definitely, and so yes, I do see that. And I also know that I'm not the only one seeing it, because there are studies that show that. Now, we can't necessarily always say why the correlate is there. And I think that the jury is still out in many cases on why. So in other words, I don't want to say here that if you're overweight, you're probably going to be depressed. And if you're depressed, you're going to be overweight.
Right.
However, there are correlates and that have been very well documented, although we may not necessarily always be able to say exactly what that correlation is built or the foundation for that. But to answer your question, that does happen. And, to what you said, clinical depression is not weight dependent. So, and if I can, in just 1 second on that, people who are experiencing depression in general, especially more and more these days, may absolutely look like they got everything going on. They may be, the perfect size, perfect career, exposure on all the right social media platforms. Their bank is fine. So they have kids, the husband, so that's a whole different ball game when we begin to talk about that aspect of mental health. And I love to use the word mental wellness, is that there's no shape, size, or color that creates a significant distinction in those who will experience those challenges and those who won't.
Honestly, I 100% can see and understand that. I think I mostly wanted to bring it up because you're right, it's deep. When we started talking about somebody who's not having a good relationship with themselves, I think it's probably even a better common factor to use than the weight, even itself. Yeah. Because when you really start to lose that connection with yourself, you stop being self-aware. You can stop taking care of yourself. You can stop doing what's best for yourself. You can stop putting yourself first and pouring into yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I think, is when we start really spiraling downhill as we continue to neglect ourselves long term. And really, that I don't even think that's gender specific or anything, because men, we can do that very easily as well.
Mm-hmm.
You are spot on. And if I could just add to that, that the level of self-awareness in many adults, I won't say most because I can't give you a statistic right now, but I will tell you the level of self-awareness in the adult population ever. So we're not saying have lost or weight has changed it, or when you went through a divorce that changed it, or any circumstance affected the self-awareness. The level of self-awareness that people have in general have developed, because self-awareness is a development, is very, very low in the general population. So self-awareness parallels emotional intelligence in a lot of ways. And that emotional intelligence, the ability to emote intelligently with self, and to also emote intelligently with others, is not as well developed as a function of getting older as we think it should be. So there's some things that we think should just happen because you get older. You know, you used to be a teenager, now you're older, you should know better. And that's not the case. And a lot of times we are growing up in homes that have had a fair amount of, if I will, for lack of a better term, because it's almost 10 o'clock, dysfunction. Dysfunctional homes, or homes that introduced trauma. And so coping mechanisms or ways of living, ways of life were developed in a non or dysfunctional way. And so now we take that into adulthood if there are no other patterns that are introduced, or no other areas that we are educated and properly trained on how to come out of these patterns. So that being said, self-awareness is not a given, just like common sense is not a given. So those who, and the thing about self-awareness is that until you start to work on being self-aware, you don't realize how unaware you are of yourself.
Right.
That's so true.
Yeah.
Right. So that being said, I gotta
amen out here.
So, and I'm going to tie this in somehow, some way. Obviously, we've talked a little bit about the sisters. I'm gonna, if I can,
talk to the brothers
on that.
Okay.
Because self-awareness, as we develop in it, those who choose to look at there are questions that we begin to ask ourselves. Why is it everything goes wrong for me? Why can't I ever catch a break? Why do I keep ending up with the jokers and the suckers and the scrubs? And why is it that I can't seem to keep a job? Why am I never happy with this? Why am I never satisfied with that? Why do they always calling me? They never call that person. So there are questions that we're asking ourselves. And what is easy to do is, because my boss is a jerk, I never should have hooked up with that dude. That lady don't like me. That's why I can't get ahead. I should have done my money. Y'all smarter than me. You started out with a little bit more seed money than I did. So there are reasons that we come up with that point the finger as to why we are having these high levels of complications or dissatisfaction. And there is seldom the time that, unless somebody asks you to do mirror work and the reflection comes back to say, what's the constant in this equation? It is me. So then one has to take that information the next step and say, well, dog, what is it about me?
Right.
Yep.
And then that step is, well, who can help me discover that? And then will I take the step to do that? And if I get with someone that can help me discover that, how much of that will I begin to then take internally and to self-reflect? How much then? Because there are levels to this, because you can become aware and don't do anything with that. But there's all the way over to healed. When we start to see where these wounds are and these scabs and these bruises and bumps that we've carried throughout life, where do we now begin to heal those? And that's a choice.
First of all, you preaching so heavy right now. I had to write some
like,
down.
she could be in
I'm writing
ministry.
some down right here. Because you went from Dr. Jada Ruffin to the pastor.
Reverend
Pastor
Jada.
Ruffin. Pastor Ruffin. But no, what you saying is so true. And I know that's hitting somebody here. Matter of fact, if y'all getting blessed, we ain't brought no doctors up here in a minute. If y'all getting blessed right now, I want y'all to drop a blessed in the chat. I got to make sure y'all up right now. If they ain't here blessing, I want y'all to drop a blessed in the chat. And you got to go ahead and hit the like button right now. Because listen, hit that like button, hit that great like button. Because I want to make sure that y'all still up and engaged with us here.
Yeah, we got a
in
chat
fact,
come in
I
too.
don't even know how this happened. We not taking no more calls on initiation hotline, but somebody sneaked up in here. I'm gonna go ahead and let this last young lady up in here. Yeah, I see your face. Gigi, what's up with you, Gigi? Hey, look, she over here.
Wow.
She over here shocked that
Gigi,
she got
what's up?
What's up, Gigi?
Welcome to the show.
Oh man. Okay. Hi everybody. Oh my gosh. I'm so embarrassed. Okay.
So
What's
listen,
up?
Gigi, listen.
Okay.
What I want you to do is I want you to give us your age, your location, and then give us your question, okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay. Lord, my heart breathing. Let me slow this down a second. Okay. I'm 37. Yes, I'm 37. I live in Denver, Colorado. And
Wow.
yes, I'm Gigi. My question is, I've had gastric sleeve. Yeah, I've had gastric sleeve. I've lost about 80 pounds already.
Wow.
Right? I know. Go me. My question is about vitamins and fasting. I've had the sleeve and they gave me a regimen for my vitamins, right? Is there a way that I could still get the nutrients I need without the vitamins, considering that I had had the sleeve? And also, is it possible to experience skin tightening from fasting, or would you not recommend fasting at all for someone that's had gastric sleeve? And that's my question.
I probably would not recommend it. I would talk with your bariatric surgeon, regarding that, but I wouldn't recommend it, at least, within the first, I don't know, several years of having the procedure, because you are losing weight at such a rapid pace. If you continue to fast, then, you will continue to rapidly lose weight. That's all I'm going to say about that, because that's not really my lane. So, but as far as I know, I don't think fasting is going to help you tighten your skin, if that's one of the questions that you asked.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Was that all you had, Gigi?
And then for vitamins.
Got it.
Okay, so of course, always check this out with your doctor.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that there are a number of nutrients that you may not be able to get in the amount that you need going forward. So supplementation may be the way to go. The other thing about that is, now that the size of your anatomy has changed, even if you could get those foods in, you may not be able to get them in the quantity that's necessary to get you to the amount that's most sufficient for your body. So in short, I would say kind of count on taking some supplements.
Okay.
The other thing that you should do even after that is get those levels checked regularly. We don't always have to guess about everything. You can get those levels checked, because just because you're taking it doesn't mean that you still have an adequate supply of it bioavailable to your body. So get that checked regularly. Don't make assumptions that because you're taking vitamin D, that your vitamin D levels are exactly where they need to be, because that may not be the case. And I see that all the time for a number of reasons. Sometimes it's the dose, sometimes it's the brand, sometimes it's the frequency, sometimes it's the gut, and there's so many other things that go into that. Mm-hmm. The other thing that I want to point out that you touched on, I thought you were going to go all the way there, is that with rapid weight loss, one of the biggest things that we see is not only are you losing fat rapidly, but you're also losing muscle. And there is no discernment in that process, particularly in a surgical case. So to fast and to not have the adequate stores that your body needs throughout the 24-hour waking period and the demands that your body has during your active times, as well as repair time, which is your sleep time. Those things will make a difference. And I will tell you, if you are not mindful of the muscle loss, that can very well be a trigger for that attrition that we talked about, because that makes a difference in how your body metabolizes. So we talk about fat, we talk about muscle, we talk about skin. Those are three different things. And I don't know the answer for you about whether fasting is absolutely right for you. So you should talk to your doctor. But I would definitely say I see no added value in taking that route, given the situation at hand.
But you will have less loose skin, like we touched on with the other caller. You'll have less loose skin if you do preserve that muscle volume.
Yes, yeah, for sure.
Excellent. Well, look, Gigi, thank you for coming up on here all late after the initiation hotline and everything. But look, you got in there. You got blessed, okay?
Thank you so much.
Time for Dr. Jada to talk a little bit about like Ozempic.
So
a lot of those
yes,
factors.
because that's relevant.
Because it's a very hot topic. Lots of patients are,
literally just had you and the niches, y'all on the same page. We just had Kay-Ann send over a question. She says, does Dr. Jada deal with the pills too? I know several people using Ozempic or the other one right now. I guess the other one is I'm not sure what the other one is.
There's about 4 different ones. Right?
Okay,
and they're rapid firing too.
Does that work? Does that stuff even work?
So let's get into it.
Okay.
So Ozempic, which has been the flagship drug of a class of medications called GLP-1 agonist, or GLP-1s is what they're being marketed as. Ozempic is the one that hit the mainstream as an injectable form of weight loss medication.
Wow.
That one had a strong marketing game. I'm gonna give you that, which was followed by even stronger marketing game with Wegovy. And can I use brand names?
Go ahead.
Okay. So, and then there are others that have followed that are combo with GLPs that are combos. So let's just say if we're talking about that class, they are an injectable class that has just skyrocketed as the shot.
The skinny shot.
Insane.
So it's like the new hydroxycut, almost like.
Yeah.
Remember when hydroxycut was popular?
I remember that.
Man, I heard that thing was eating folks up alive. I don't know, but
it's not out there anymore, is it?
Okay, yeah, you're right. So tell me about this joint.
So this drug has originally started, its class of medication started as a treatment for diabetes. And from there, one of the things that they found in clinical studies after using it for diabetes is that it affected 2 things. 1, it affected appetite, and 2, it affected weight. Well, 3 things. And of course, it affected blood sugar. So that's kind of the backbone of what these drugs do and have been proven to do over time. So I think if I was saying a few things, and then I'll let more questions come my way, because I could talk about this for a good little while, is that Ozempic is still a medication. So while you can get it at the gas station, you can get it off your grandmama dresser.
No prescription needed?
Well, no, prescriptions should be needed, but people are getting it everywhere, kind of like Fix-A-Flat. So
wow.
So there's like compound pharmacies that are compounding it, and if you pay, then you can get it.
Well, it's compound pharmacies, which may not be the worst of it. I don't know that is even the worst of it. I think that the thing that I want to point out is this is not a panacea. This is not a one size fits all, come one, come all. And so I think what's really important, if someone is considering this, is that you're a good candidate. You're the right candidate for this, that this makes sense, that you've been adequately evaluated, your labs have been reviewed, we've looked at your health history, your chronic conditions that may or may not apply. So there's the things, because it's still a drug, there's still side effects, there's still potential complications of using it. And so the second thing is that you need to be using it with someone who knows this very well, not because you can prescribe it means that they should prescribe it. It's like, imagine if we could get our hands on chemo. I mean, I guess we could prescribe it. I wouldn't want to because I can't manage all it goes with that. That's not my lane.
Yeah.
So I would definitely say make sure that you're with a medical professional that is able to kind of, if they get you in it, they can get you out.
Yeah.
Kind
monitor and develop a plan.
And
I see
long-term
lots of
plan.
people hear of a lot of people who are taking it. They're prescribed it by either their primary care or whoever, but they're just prescribed and there's no end in sight.
Third thing, there you go. She nailed it. Is that this is part of a game plan, a short range, middle range, and long range. At some point, it's plausible, although the studies are now showing they're booming them out. Okay, we've shown it for up to 16 weeks, up to 26 weeks. Now we're going up to 48, 52. So they're showing the possibility of being able to take these things long range. Well, remember now, with the originals, that class that I just mentioned, you're talking about 10, 15% of body weight. So if you're 5'2", 5'3", and you're 200 pounds and you lose, 20 pounds or 25, that's significant, but categorically, it's still a lot of weight left to be lost. If we were talking about really putting a dent in from a preventative standpoint. So anywho, knowing what the long range game plan is really, really important, because then you start to decide, do I want to be on this long-term medication for this condition? And what would happen if I were not on it any longer? So understanding the side effect profile, making sure that you have the ability to be monitored appropriately, and then when appropriate, which is important for me. My goal as a wellness, I'm a weight loss specialist, but I'm a wellness professional at heart and always have been, is to minimize the amount of drugs that you need to take as often as I can to Now, medications have a role and we use them for the role that they play, and some people need them long term. If there's something that can be adjusted over time because you do the things that make the difference, then that becomes the medicine.
Yeah.
So if that is physical activity, I had somebody in the office the other day, that's part of your medication regimen. So you want to stay off this blood pressure medicine, you want to that's it.
Yeah.
So it's a tool. It is a tool.
So you think you would actually, this Ozempic, do you think that this could be a good solution for somebody that really wants to consider losing weight?
I do. I think it can be very helpful. I think it can be very helpful in the right person with the proper amount of evaluation prior to determine that's that right person, and with the right supervision and the right game plan. I think it can be very, very helpful.
But all of the other stuff that come with the Ozempic that you mentioned, because I don't think that's what people are doing. They're probably just going straight to the pill and hoping for some results.
To shots.
To the shots.
And hoping for results. Or still, a lot of people are using it and they're eating and drinking and being merry.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they're okay with just being on that medication. Because either they're not having any side effects from it, and they feel like they could just take it and not have those modifications in place. You have patients, or you have it to where they're prescribed a certain amount and they can dial up their dose when they feel like it. So that's why it's important to have someone.
So I'm gonna dial up my dose because I know I'm about to go in.
Right. So it's like a weekly shot. So it's not like you take it like
when you take it as prescribed.
That part.
When you take
that part. But in addition, it's like, so that's why it's important to have oversight, so that you're not accelerating the dose too quickly and then causing some of these potential complications that are associated with the medications.
Which can be significant.
Yeah.
Ileus,
they sell on this
bowel obstruction.
They sell on these joints at like gas stations and everything. Is it getting ratchet?
Let's just say bootleg. Yeah.
But it sounds like you said
somebody opening up their jacket and saying, "I got."
Where should you be buying?
I got plenty.
So let the people know, where should they be buying this joint from?
They should go to their medical professional, their physician or physician's assistant or whomever is a reputable source that has credentials, that has studied this work and has the ability to not only prescribe but to manage this area as a treatment of care
So
for that problem.
And
thank you.
They're using it because I'm assuming they actually injecting themselves with it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So don't y'all be going to the Exxon and buying a pack of Newports
Yeah.
and some damn Ozempic. All right, that's not how it's supposed to go down.
And hot Cheetos.
And some
Cheetos.
hot Cheetos and Ozempic. All right, none of that ratchetry.
That's the combination for death.
Right?
That don't sound good at all.
No, that's a fact. That's really a fact. And I want to make sure. I think we got one more question.
Yeah, we got a question.
We got one more. Y'all listen. These ladies got to get home. So y'all better go ahead and throw a super chat in right now because we closing it down. Let's go ahead and read this super chat and get this in for the ladies.
Shout out to Angela B, one of our lovely initiates. She says,
Shout out.
So grateful for this conversation. Can the doctors touch on hormonal imbalances that cause issues and weight gain?
You kind of talked about that a tad bit, but
she mentioned in fibroids, birth control, and other medications. So birth control called, well I got so many questions. What is fibroids? I hear about fibroids all the time. What is that?
Fibroids is a condition of the uterus, which is women's womb, the uterus, that are benign growths that can grow sizably in any layer of that organ, the uterus. And fibroids are very, very common, particularly in women of color, and can result in significant dis-ease by way of affecting how people's digestive tract, the bladder, can affect fertility, can affect things like anemia as a result, especially if those fibroids result in excessive menstrual cycles or bleeding outside of the menstrual cycle, clots, things like that. It's a very common condition, and it's a bit of a nuisance. So, and we're seeing this in every age and stage, post-puberty. So people in their 20s and 30s are diagnosed, probably become a little bit more aware of it in the 30s. Typically, they will remain active until the time of menopause. And
can you stop these from coming, or is it just kind of natural occurrence? Or
they can be familial. In some cases, there are many theories that indicate that some people are more likely to develop fibroids based on eating patterns, stress patterns, that in addition to family patterns. So there are some other associations and things that are thought to make fibroids, if they are there, even worse, can be some of those things that we talked about. So that's kind of the long and the short of fibroids, which kind of correlate, if we switch a little bit to another part of that question, to birth control, because that can be a method of treatment for fibroids, depending on the types of fibroids. So some people take birth control to kind of settle them down, to keep them, to
I
keep
did
the
not
bleeding.
know that. I did not know birth control was used for anything else besides birth control.
Oh yeah, acne,
What?
a number of things.
Regulating menstrual cycles.
Regulating menstrual cycles.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've heard about the regulated menstrual cycles, and interesting, but also it can affect your weight gain as well.
Well, yeah, and certain types of birth control are more likely to be associated with weight gain, and specifically in this case, that I see most often is the injection called Depo-Provera.
I've heard of that.
I heard of Depo.
Depo, man, Depo can be a doozy for some people. So, top things that people will have with Depo: hair loss, weight gain, and irregular bleeding.
Wait, so what's the cons? And I'm so sorry to cut you off. It's just fascinating to me because I feel like this kind of hits home because just about every woman I've ever even dated have had some kind of birth control. Right. Most of them at least. So there's different. So what are the different cons as you go into Depo? What are those different types though, just so I can get a good understanding?
Well, presumably those women had birth control for birth control, because that's the number one reason that people
Right.
take birth control.
Right,
It's to
right.
control birth, it's control pregnancy. So let's just assume that that's the case. But categorically, the types of birth control, there's the pill,
Yeah.
there's the patch, there's the ring, there's the shot, there's the implant,
Yeah. The thing that be in
Yeah.
their arm.
and
Wait,
there's
that's new.
the
I ain't never heard of that one.
I've experienced all of these so
yeah,
far.
there's the IUD. There's the IUD.
He missed another sound.
Yeah,
He
that's
should have
the,
sound.
that is a sound right there.
Okay.
But go ahead.
There's the IUD, and then there's surgery. Whether that is, there's these things that go into the fallopian tubes, so those are a thing, and then the surgical removal, burn, cut, tie. As you have some women say, I want them cut, tied, burn, removed,
Fried,
disintegrated,
everything.
fried, take it to the
Wow.
garbage dumpster, buried
That's getting
under.
your tubes tied.
That's called
basically.
getting your
Yeah.
tubes tied. Exactly. So that's a lot.
And the
That-
Depo,
Where we
but-
going with this?
No,
but
no,
I'ma
no.
go
But
with
where
you.
we're going
Yes.
with it is the Depo in particular is the one that is most related to weight gain
It is. It is.
out of all of them.
Depo is, and
Okay.
and a close to that is the implantable, which has different brand names, but the implantable, and primarily because it's unopposed progesterone, and so that can be a significant issue for. And when I say weight gain, I'm not talking about a little bit. Like some people who experience weight gain from these types of forms of birth control, we're talking 30, 40, 50, 60 pounds.
Wow.
You're talking about girls,
Insane.
kids that have never had a weight issue. You're talking about a 16-year-old who was 120 pounds. You see her a year later, she 180.
Wow.
It's really
And this is a kid. And what we also don't often think about, talk about, read about, study is the impact on the suppression of ovulation at that stage of life as an adolescent, and the other impact on other evolving hormones, and specifically testosterone. So there
Wow.
are a number of things that can happen in that hormonal realm from puberty all the way to
Young
perimenopause, all the way to menopause.
I'm gonna do a whole episode on that.
no. We
to
need
be
to.
honest.
This
I really
gives me
do.
so much
This is
empathy
good.
because both men and women are obviously actively involved in creating a baby, but it's only the women aspect you hear about when it comes to the birth control.
Yeah, see.
And I didn't understand. Like, I mean, I just thinking about when I was a serial casual dater, and I just used to ask women if they was on birth control. Now that I had no idea, I could have been asking them to take something that they could potentially lose a head full of hair, or potentially you gain 40, 50. I didn't know it was such a health risk
oh man.
to embark on this type of thing. So it's just kind of, man, it's just like so many things to learn.
Even how it can
Yeah.
affect like their fertility. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like it's just all of these different things that birth control can literally affect. And like when you young and you just in that sex culture, it's ignorant. Like I
It is.
remember even like, a girl, like a woman bragging that like, cause she was always so skinny growing up. She was always like just kind of this like kind of get roasted about being bony.
Yeah.
Then she hopped on the Depo and now she thick, and now she bragging about the thickness because of the birth control. She's like, yeah, the birth control put weight on me,
Wow.
blah, blah. But that, okay, I guess that's good, right? Because now you're getting validated by the culture, but really what else happened
Yeah.
to your body? In
What
that
else is
process?
going on?
Internally.
Internally,
Yeah.
what's really
Mhm.
going on?
Mhm.
So, I mean, it's a lot, and we can really go in heavy on that. So I do want to
Yeah.
do a whole separate episode on that. But I think the whole purpose of going there was she was asking about the different hormonal effects
Imbalances.
that can have, which can affect weight gain, which birth control was just one of those, which it is verified that hormones have a large effect on your weight gain in general.
Right. And so as I was segueing from that puberty all the way through to the childbearing years, that's another time that we see women put on a significant amount of cluster weight, is what I call it, cluster weight is significant amount of weight that in many cases doesn't come off.
Yeah.
So not losing that weight postpartum, our typical goal is to have you back at pre-pregnancy weight by month 12. So by the time your baby's 1, sometimes people don't get to that pre-pregnancy weight, have another baby, and they're already carrying 30 pounds from the previous pregnancy. So stay with me. If you started out 130, you gained 60, you lost 30, you're now, 160 pounds. You go into the next pregnancy, gain X amount of weight. You don't lose all of that, then you've added another 20, 30 pounds. So you could easily, in 2 to 3 kids, end up 60, 70 pounds overweight. So somebody that started out 130, 150 could easily be 210, 220. And that hangs out. If you're not intentional about it, you could say, I have this baby weight, and your baby could be 22. So it is another cluster time. So, and yeah. Okay.
No. I get what you're saying. And I want to ask y'all this. And Ryan, let's drop this poll real quick. Because I know a lot of moms, just out of wanting to prevent shame on the family, wanting to prevent, unintentional and unplanned pregnancies, they put their daughters on birth control very young. And, we seeing some of the things that can happen with birth control. It's, the weight gain, just all the things, all the side effects that come with it. Is that something that mothers should not necessarily do? Is that unethical? Is that wrong to put your child on birth control? And I want to get the chat on that question too. Let's drop that poll to see their thoughts.
What's the exact? Is
it wrong, or should you not put your teenager on birth control? Because again, I really believe that's very common, and I don't know if it's talked about widely, but I knew a lot of young ladies that were in high school on birth control, a large amount of young ladies. And most of them, that conversation I think is really had with the mom. Like, because I don't know if the father is usually the one really being aggressive about it. I really think it's the mother. But in general, despite of it, do you think that that's right or wrong? Just in general, I want to get you.
Wait, before you answer that, I'm gonna drop the poll.
Yeah,
I'm gonna drop the poll.
We're gonna drop the poll because
should
I
you
want
put
to know.
your daughter on birth control before the doctor answers? Because I know some of y'all gonna try to change y'all answer.
Don't be stealing y'all answer from what the doctor say. I really want your authentic opinion on that one, because I think because this is something that's really happening, and the votes is racking in here. I want to go ahead and announce this one in just a few. And while this is also happening, go ahead and hit the thumbs up. It's 10:30, y'all.
Votes are piling in.
Hit the thumbs up.
Votes are piling in. So yes, we're ready for you now.
Yes. So go ahead.
So I will not weigh in the way that you think. I'm not going to give a right or a wrong.
Okay.
That is a personal decision per each family, per each relationship, each mother, daughter, father, whatever, who is a part of that decision making. And just so you know, it is plausible, and in all 50 states, there are contraceptive laws that protect and allow teens from varying ages, depending on the state, as early as 14, I believe, is all the way up to go and to actually put themselves on birth control without the consent of a parent, with confidential protection for that child. Wow. So there are laws for that.
That's different. Wow.
Yeah, that's the thing. So I won't say that it is right or wrong unless it's right or wrong for that family. I do think that it's important to have a lot of conversation, to be well informed, to think about the short and long-term impact, to have some deeper conversations that a lot of times parents don't feel comfortable having or don't know how to have. And it's very difficult, especially coming out of the era when parents just don't talk about sex. You just don't have sex and don't bring no babies home, because the ultimate outcome is you're going to get put out. And so that's the extent of the talk. And so I think that, again, evolution opportunities are there for more conversations, and at least be a safe space to have that. And if it's not with the parents, because sometimes that's just not possible, the way relationships are set up, but with another adult that is reasonable, that can be trusted, that is has the ability to understand and learn and to give sound wisdom to a teenager who's contemplating that aspect of life. So, and sometimes that wise person may need to be in the ear of the parent, of the mother. So maybe that's an aunt or grandmama, a child. I know what you was doing because you had a baby at 16. So don't try that with my grandbaby. Let's talk to my grandbaby. So this is a really deep conversation. Definitely. I think it could go in many different directions. I just say, families, let's talk to each other. And if you don't feel comfortable, but you know something needs to be done, because some kids are having sex.
Yeah.
And so you can gain weight by getting pregnant too. And so, so we don't want to trade the witch for the devil, as they say, or the frying pan for the skillet. So, but if you're not able to have those conversations, maybe there's trauma. Some moms were abused. You have some moms that were sexually abused, and that child is the product of that event. So there's some trauma that has to be dealt with when it comes to that stage of life. That they were 16 when they were raped or molested. And now being at 16, there's something about this trap psychologically that doesn't allow healthy conversations. So mom, can you get that person to a doctor that you trust? Can you get that person to a health professional that can help you have that conversation? Or in some cases, if it's necessary to have that conversation in your stead. So it's a lot. It's a lot. I wish I could give you.
No, you gave me you gave me what you had, and I appreciate that answer. I mean, Dr. Barron, you got anything to weigh in on that one?
Even before you commented, I was gonna say it really depends on the situation. You know, for that family, what's going on, if the teenager is having sex or not, or whatever. I think it's all rooted in education. You know, it doesn't have to be the quick fix for, to calm a parent or, and put them at ease that their child may not, come home pregnant or whatever. But I don't think it should necessarily be pushed on a child either. So it really is a case by case basis and what's best for the family. But it has to start, like Dr. Jada said, is with education on all fronts. A lot of times it's the parents who are uneducated really as to, what this potential medication might be or the effects that it may have on the child. But then really uneducated and having that discussion about sex. Okay, well, why is it that you feel like you need to, or whatever, do you know this can happen or that can happen? There's plenty of, parents who still don't really understand the mechanisms of even how a baby is made, and so how are they, but they're parents, so people just go about this act because it feels good or whatever, but they just don't know the physiology behind it. And so how can they then have that conversation with their own children, so I definitely agree it's a case by case basis, and families just have to do what's best for them.
Interesting. So
let's close that poll out.
Closing the poll, guys. So over 100 votes on this thing. Should you put your daughter on both birth control? And 70% of the people say no. Unless she listens to Sexy Red, then she needs the pill.
Cat Harlem jumped in. As Cat Harlem said, look, if you know your child is sexually active but not responsible enough to protect themselves, yes, put them on birth control. Listen, you got a lot of different opinions on there. And I understand too, especially, my, upbringing was probably different because I did grow up in what they consider a Title I school, which Title I school means damn near the whole school is on free lunch. So y'all know what kind of neighborhood and school I went to. And I think all of that has a lot to do with why there was a lot of the young ladies that I grew up with where their mom wanted to put them on birth control, because it's just that kind of environment. I think that also has a lot to do with what I saw and experienced and what maybe those mothers saw and experienced, or even fathers in that household that consented that. And why I had that, truth growing up and seeing that and having those conversations. But I think that's really good and responsible, feedback for everybody to consider about why you would make a decision. And I think just in general, I mean, this whole episode, y'all gave us a whole lot to consider. Family, I know you did it already. Put a blessed up in this chat if y'all went ahead and y'all are blessed and thankful for these conversations. In fact, We brought y'all some vegetables today, and because of this, I learned so much. I think I want to do this more often, Ryan.
I do too, and it's just so many other conversations that we got to have that stemming from this one conversation, because it's a lot of things we got to dive into. I learned a lot.
I learned so much,
and I'm not going to call people fat anymore. Okay,
Okay.
Absolutely.
This from Dr. Jada. I'm not going to even do that no more.
Absolutely. In fact, let's talk to the people about some things coming up here, because I'm so excited. Thank you for everybody that stayed here to the end of this show. Because we got some announcements for you guys. In fact, I think, Ryan, you already kind of told them about the days that we taking off for the holidays, right?
Yep. So we're good on that. We just got to tell them about the special episode. Go
so
ahead,
guys, what we're going to do next Friday, we're putting out a special episode. Since we're taking off this Sunday and Monday, we're going to do some special for y'all on Friday. Now, we are coming with a Wednesday show. So we're going to be here live and direct Wednesday. I think that's like the 27th of December.
Sure is.
But what we're going to do here on the 28th, y'all kept asking for this, brother. So we got him. R.C. Blakes has came up in this joint, and we shot an episode with him this morning, and we're doing our very best to get it whipped up, cooked up, so we can go ahead and put it out this Friday. When I tell y'all, this episode is so powerful.
Yeah, it's really
so
good.
powerful, because this brother is the author of Queenology, and it's a lot of people so-and-so kind of, so-and-so kind of sort of producing queens or whatever the case is. So we're going to have somebody who's really qualified, that has been doing it the right way for so long, and he came and laid it down in a way that you guys have to watch what this brother said. And that's going to be coming out on Friday, and we're going to do some special. It's going to be an afternoon joint. It's going to be next Friday at 12 p.m. We will premiere that, so there will be a chat. It was not live, but it will be a chat. So we're very excited to present.
It was hard to get RC. He doesn't do many shows, and the ones that he do are phenomenal. And we got a chance to meet him and his wife, Mrs. Lisa, and it was an incredible episode. I'm excited about it.
It was so incredible. And first of all, this was an incredible episode. I thank you ladies so much for coming up on here. In fact, I don't know if y'all have any trusted, like, that's one thing me and Ryan said we're gonna do this year too. We trying to really build up our team of experts and professionals in the area of wellness and health. And we brought some up in here. I don't know if these ladies are relevant to you, but if y'all were considering or thinking about making any big jumps, I absolutely want you guys to, y'all really in the game. Like, they could call up the practices, set up some consultations. Can y'all please tell them where they can call? I want y'all to tell them where they need to call up to and who they need to be doing business with.
So I'm Dr. Aisha Barron. I'm the owner of Breast Body Beauty, Plastic and Reconstructive Surgery. We're in kind of the North Atlanta area by Truist Park. But I see, like Dr. Jada, patients from all across the country, even sometimes across the pond. And you can reach out to us either on our website, breastbodybeauty.com. I have an Instagram page, breast, the letter N, Body Doc. So that's Breast N Body Doc. Also our practice page, which is at Breast Body Beauty on Instagram, Facebook, all the other social media handles.
Yes, and we're gonna put the Instagram for Dr. Barron also in the description. If you're watching the replay, if you're watching it now, it will be in the description.
Yep.
And go ahead, please let us know they can get in contact with you, Dr. Jada.
Yeah, so my practice also, I own Real Weight Loss and Wellness. Real is an acronym for Renew, Empower, Achieve, Live. I am based in Atlanta, but I see people all over, and it is not uncommon on any week for me to have a fly-in, which I appreciate my clients from all over the country. We get amazing results, whether you're in person or virtual. Some clients never step foot, and they still are able to get amazing and long-lasting results. We are available. I think the easiest thing to do, our website is www.startwithreal.com. You can follow me on Instagram, on Facebook at DRJADAMD, at Dr. Jada, DRJADAMD. My link tree in the bio can point you to the practice. And I'm there. I'm doing actually a wellness summit, a virtual wellness summit, February 2nd and 3rd. So I want you to stay tuned for that. Girl, get ready. Summit.com. It's
annual.
Wow. This is the 4th annuals. And Dr. Aisha has been so kind to be on the virtual stage during the pandemic. And I just, if I may, for just a moment, thank you I couldn't have been next to a better co.
That's love.
Yeah, she's so amazing. She's such a conscientious surgeon and physician, and a lot of what she said, I can absolutely underscore that. In this day and age when competition, and I know you don't compete because there's no competition, but I'm just saying that people that are out that do many things, to be able to say, I take a stand for your ultimate health and well-being, and that your check is not enough for me to go against what I know is morally and ethically right for you. That takes a really special anointed individual. So I cannot say that enough. Somebody that's willing to look at you when you're not thinking about your best interest. That's a really, really big deal. She's amazing.
Thank you.
Man,
I love
first
that.
of all, you're supposed to be talking about you over here, talking about Dr.
I
Aisha.
know.
Okay.
But this is what we do. Like,
that.
but this is what we do, like, so that's why there's this exchange between our practices and things like that. And there's a whole network, it's not just us. Like we have a whole network of sister docs that support each other and refer, and because we're all like-minded. We want the best for our patients.
Yeah.
We want the best for our demographic. That's why people seek us out. Because we're real. We're going to give it to them real. We're going to give them the education. We're going to give them the support, so thank you so much for that.
First of all,
and likewise, ditto. I'm going to say ditto.
Our initiates is so funny, but one of our initiates, Anna, shout out to Anna. Anna said, do y'all take EBT? Hey, don't
DM me.
Don't even answer that. But I'm going to get y'all ladies out of here because I'm very excited and I'm thankful to have y'all. I'm hoping that we can have you back. We looking to continue to, keep the most quality of conversations and talent on the platform.
And bring a variety. A variety is what they need.
Yeah, I'm so happy y'all here in Atlanta, so y'all are always welcome, to make Harlem Initiated home, for you guys as well. But I know we got to get y'all out of here because actually Dr. Barron, she came up in here with her husband and she got one of them old school husbands, like with that Kango hat, look like he'll put an ass whooping on you.
right.
So we got to get y'all up out of here and get y'all back home. But I thank y'all so much for coming up in here and having a good time and teaching us as well as the audience. And thank you guys again for tuning into another episode of Hardly Initiated. All right, we are out.